I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Saving America one mind at a time. This is Smith Radio. And now, your hosts, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Test.
We got it.
Yeah, I was.
How did that get pressed?
I was looking for the big button.
That's weird.
Hey, good evening.
Wow.
Good evening, everybody. We got trolls all over the place. They're up in the studio, and we weren't even here.
I got to tell you right now, there's a button. It's a physical button.
What?
And you have to press it in order for it to physically come up. It's like a click button. I didn't touch it.
The problem is Mr. Producer is out of the studio at this point in time.
Apparently
and that's probably
so.
why.
Yeah. No, but who pressed the button? Because right before we went live, the button was working.
Yeah, but that's on your side.
I didn't touch it.
Anyways,
we have gremlins. Whew.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith. Hopefully, we didn't lose too many of you guys.
Getting this thing going. Going.
How about this? Just retweet. If you're listening right now, go ahead and share again, because I'm sure we lost a ton of people like, well, I guess this is broken. So go ahead and share it. Do us a little solid.
I mean, that was only about 30 seconds, wasn't it?
If I was listening live at that point, 30 seconds, I'd be like, woo, time to look for something else.
Okay, hang in there, folks.
Yes.
For all of you that are loyal listeners, you understand these things. It happens all the time. Anyways, hey, I've got let's not jinx it. We're knock on wood. I think I got the fix on the lockup on the Twitter and the Twitter issues.
Okay.
So we're going to go live every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. This is Military Veteran Talk Radio, Smith Radio. If this is the first time joining the scope, welcome aboard. I was in the Air Force during the 90s, and Carrie, my cousin, was in the Marine Corps during the 90s. We've been doing this bantering back and forth. We'll talk about politics, life in general, just any topic under the sun for probably the last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And about 4 years ago, we decided, you know what, we gotta document this stuff.
It might have been sooner than that. We kind of put it off for a couple of years.
Oh, sorry. 6 years ago, we said, hey, man, we gotta document this stuff. And then it took a couple of years for us to actually.
Yeah, we were saying stuff that I felt like other people needed to hear. And it was just me and him on a phone conversation. Brian was all the way in L.A. That's why so many of these conversations were happening. Right. Think about it. If we were just hanging out together in person, we probably would have never thought of it. But we're talking on the phone, and I don't know, it just felt like it needed to be captured. Right. So that's the genesis of Smith Radio.
Absolutely. And right underneath me is my handle, Brian P. Smith, and under Carrie, he handles the Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio on Twitter. Follow us and get the daily periscopes and hourly tweets.
Right.
Whatnots. We're also on Facebook and YouTubes and wherever you are, Instagrams and the interwebs. We're everywhere, folks. SMYTH Radio. And today we got a big show. Got a special guest. Once again, we had her on 2 weeks ago. I have her back. Jessie Jane Duff, former gunnery sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps.
Right.
And we're going to be talking about Jeff Sessions. And for those of you naysayers, please, about Jeff Sessions, please, let's get a grip on what's real here. Who is Jeff Sessions? What is he doing?
I may have been in that column.
I think we all were a little bit at one time.
Yeah, it was just the frustration at one point. By the way, if I'm looking down, I'm sharing the show right now, so I'm paying attention. But yeah, the thing about Sessions is that we had all gotten a little frustrated because, justice for us little people works a lot faster than it does for the elite class of people that, I'm telling you, our founding fathers did not intend, or they hoped that they could maybe avoid this kind of thing where you have these different classes of people. I hate to refer to different groups of people within the United States, whether they're just regular citizens or actually serving in government. We're all regular citizens, obviously, but I mean, these people, the way they get put up on a pedestal is that they conspire to never hold themselves accountable. So
for anything.
Brian, how about this? You don't indict me.
Okay.
You don't come after me. You don't send me to court. And if so, it doesn't come of anything. And I'll do the same for you.
Oh, solid. Boom.
Telling you.
So, and I even brought up the example that
we're getting Jesse Jane on right now.
Okay, fair enough. Let's get this started. We're going to talk about Jeff Sessions first with Jesse Jane Duff, and then we're also going to get into tariffs and steel, the booming economy. I've got some of the most incredible news you've never heard of before, and Donald Trump's approval rating at 50%, and then touch a little bit on North Korea. But first, folks, Jesse Jane Duff, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be back. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, our pleasure, and thank you very much. I know that you're on a tight schedule, and I will keep it really quick and really brief, but I really enjoyed 2 weeks ago when you came at us, at every one of us, and said, hey, Jeff Sessions is a solid. He's a good guy.
That's right.
Y'all need to back off. And I took a page from your book, and I've been running with it, and ever since then, we've been seeing some really good things this week happen with Jeff Sessions.
Oh, my goodness. Jeff Sessions has been miraculous for this country. A lot of people are so focused by Mueller that they're failing to recognize what he has done on illegal immigration and his aggressive moves going after California right now for their sanctuary state policies. I think that he is the right man for the job. People need to understand that Jeff Sessions did recuse himself from the Mueller investigation. However, there are arguments for and against appointing a special counsel to investigate the FBI, which is, interestingly, the topic of conversation now because of what they did with the dossier that was never verified,
right,
where the funding came from that, the use of Hillary Clinton's use of private email server to send classified information, and whether senior Obama administration officials, including the president, were aware of the use of an unverified dossier to open an investigation into the Trump campaign and possible Russia collusion. I mean, we can get this investigated. Now the argument is, do we do a special counsel with people from outside the Beltway to do this? Because Mueller can't do this. Mueller is a former FBI head. He has already implicated himself with the mere fact that he's worked with a lot of the people within the FBI. So this would be a separate special counsel.
Right.
I have arguments for and against. I would suggest, though, that whenever we start doing special counsels, they tend to drag on for years and years. They start getting off course often, and they also start investigating areas that were not even originally intended to be investigated. We can see that clearly with Manafort, who is now undergoing charges for tax evasion and various other maybe money laundering accusations that are against him that had nothing to do with the Trump campaign. Even the allegations against General Flynn, right or wrong on how he managed the situation, it had nothing to do with the campaign. I mean, time and time again, everyone who has fallen under investigation has had no implication with the Trump campaign. So,
right, and they mentioned...
we can argue about Mueller's success here so far. He has found a lot of skeletons in other closets, but he has not found the skeletons in the closet he was told to investigate.
Right, and this week we heard that one of the people that they're investigating apparently has to do with an incident in the month of August of 2015. I'm just saying these things that are coming out that Mueller is investigating seems to be nothing burgers, seems to not even have anything to do with Russia, collusion on the Trump campaign, and it's just totally gone amiss and awry. And as you mentioned, Mueller doing this investigation, he should recuse himself for having such close ties with Comey.
Well, Sessions doesn't have to recuse himself from investigating the FBI. The problem is the American people will be wondering, why is the FBI investigating itself?
Right.
DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz is actually a very highly regarded man who is expected to release a report this month into the FBI's handling of the Clinton server investigation. That in itself may be several weeks away, and at that point, Attorney General Sessions is asking to investigate possible FISA warrant abuse against Carter Page, and he briefly volunteered for the Trump campaign. So once the outcome of this Inspector General report comes out, it can make that determination at that time if we need a special counsel to investigate the FBI. Again, I'm not a fan of special counsels simply because I don't know that it's going to be productive, but considering we're talking about the FBI itself,
right,
the DOJ itself, it might more likely be something that is imperative that we do. Now, I think people have to also understand that the bulk of the people within the FBI are not even political. I mean, if you've ever been involved in the government, most people are very much 9-to-5 workers who are doing their jobs. If you're in the intelligence community, obviously you're probably doing other work that's more than 9 to 5. But they're not necessarily running around with pro-Hillary Clinton bumper stickers and I'm with her, nor are they necessarily running around with Make America Great stickers. I've worked around government people my whole life. I actually work very closely with people who support the FBI. And we're not talking every day about the Russia collusion. We're talking about the crimes we're trying to prevent from infiltration or possibly the statuses of ISIS, their activities that may be inside the United States. The FBI handles all domestic terrorism issues, handles all types of investigations dealing with the national security of the United States, not on foreign soil. So at the end of the day, most of these people got their noses down trying to succeed in protecting this nation. I heard one person speak that I'll allow to remain nameless, but she is a guerrilla journalist, and she spouted off something that just infuriated me because this is how we get the scandal mindset going. She said, we have so many questions about this Parkland shooting, and now we're seeing that the FBI had ignored the phone calls or had not, that they had received definite leads out of Clarksburg, West Virginia. They connected the dots, but then they closed the investigation. It really makes you start to wonder or believe that they're connected to the Democratic Party and they wanted, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they wanted 17 kids to die so that they could make their efforts with gun control.
I think I know who you're talking about, and that's no good. Yeah, that's no good. That doesn't help anybody. I think I know who you're talking about, and that doesn't help anybody. That's awful.
No, it doesn't help anybody, and she's a very well-known guerrilla journalist.
Right.
And I thought to myself, you have never worked in the intelligence community. You've never worked in the government. You don't understand that the government is so filled with muck and bureaucracy that if you had that type of scandal going where they were actually plotting to ensure that these children were murdered, somebody would have been a whistleblower by now. There's too many people with integrity in this business who don't want to see kids killed.
Well,
so we all have to stop with that type of bad-mouthing the FBI to a point where we're suggesting that they're in collusion with the Democratic Party so that kids will die and they can get gun control. That is lunacy. That is just repulsive. You cannot connect dots just because you feel something. You have to connect dots with facts and actual analysis.
Well, that's not going to win elections either.
Well,
talking like that's not going to win anything.
Well, and I'll tell you, history is repeating itself because when I was in college, it was in class. It was the next day after 9/11, and some of the students there this early, I was really, really taken back by this. I had just freshly gotten out of the Marine Corps. And I'm here in college, and somebody says, I think the government did 9/11. And so it's like history is repeating itself. Is that somehow you have to kill thousands and thousands of American citizens in order for the FBI or the CIA or some government agency to get some sort of a policy or point across? And I can agree with you 100% that that is just, you need to have a smoking gun before you do that.
Yes. I think it was about a year or 2 years ago. You guys might remember that the far, I don't even want to call them the far right, the conspiracy theorists were saying that the military was conducting operations in the Southwest, such as Texas and Arizona, and they were actually suggesting that they had these big refrigerator trucks to store bodies, that the military was in these training operations, and they were following the military trucks around, and I was appalled by that. First of all, most Americans who serve in the United States military have fellow civilians on the outside. They're not going to put up with watching their government try to have a militia overthrow of our civilians. Right. You would have had more than a few lance corporals and staff sergeants, gunnery sergeants, captains, majors, lieutenant colonels even screaming at the top of their lungs,
there's too many opportunities for whistleblowers. Way too many opportunities for whistleblowers. That's what I told the guy that said that the government was responsible for 9/11. Is that, do you know how many thousands, or at least hundreds and hundreds of low-level government workers would have had to have been in on the conspiracy to kill thousands of civilians?
Yes.
It just doesn't make any sense. So I agree with you on that. Let me back up real quick on the FBI thing. You know, call me a purist, a constitutional purist, I guess. I try to be a realist as much as I can, but then the philosophy behind our founding obviously comes into play in my mind. I'm really disturbed by the idea that the FBI is said to be like an independent organization that is not supposed to be policed or governed by the President of the United States. It's a branch of the executive branch, or it's a department of the executive branch, and the President is said to be the head of the executive branch. I actually said this a couple of weeks ago, that the President is the dictator of the executive branch, and there's oversight from the checks and balances of the other branches. It's a little bit worrisome to me that you could have a department that is said to be independent of its own branch, and now we're talking about oversight and possible abuses that can't even be dealt with by supposedly the leader, which is the president. What do you have to say about that?
Why that's set up like that. First of all, he can fire the director of the FBI. He clearly already has, and it's not the first time in history that they've done that. But you cannot have your executive branch delegating justice, because what happens now, that's how dictators can hide facts from the American public. They can hide their own dirty laundry. This is, to me, it's important that despite your political affiliation, if you have a corrupt leader in that White House who is now bearing all of their seedy deals and hiding what they're doing from the Department of Justice, then they are the Department of Injustice. And that's what I feel that Eric Holder turned it into. We still haven't gotten any answers on the Fast and Furious scandal that happened to kill Brian Terry, who actually had been a United States Marine before he was a border control agent. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We also brought up that one of the guns in Fast and Furious were found at the nightclub shooting out in France.
Yeah, that was reported by somebody, that one of the Bataclan shooters in Paris was using a weapon that could be traced back to Fast and Furious. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate, but that was reported by somebody.
Well, and then this week on Wednesday, the Department of Justice announced the additional documents, released a House Oversight Committee. I mean, all these things that were previously held by Eric Holder, who was found in civil criminal contempt of Congress, and then Obama came in and just kind of wiped it clean so nobody be in trouble, put his stamp on it. They're going to release these documents. I don't know. I mean, there's so many scandals that we could go through. Do you just pick some of the biggest ones and just have Jeff Sessions start going one at a time?
What are you referring to, the investigations that they have to get started on? Yeah,
well, they're saying that the Department of Justice announced Wednesday that they're releasing documents that were held by Eric Holder, who refused to turn them over.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's
cool.
Yeah.
First of all, you kind of have to start with the investigations that have never been resolved that involve someone's life and death,
right.
Or death, I should say. Mm-hmm. I think Fast and Furious is a huge priority. Even that of the scandals that cause people to lose their businesses, such as even in the IRS.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, with the IRS and why the DOJ did not pursue criminal charges against Lois Lerner, and I do have a little bit of sense of collusion within within the IRS, that if they exposed Lois Lerner, I dare to say they probably would expose a lot more people. And often in a society such as ours, when you start having a complete utter collapse of your government based upon corruption, who's to say that the confidence of the American people would be going out the window?
Which it has.
It's very hard to know why Lois Lerner never was held accountable for that. I'm never going to get my head around it, but I'm also not a legal person. I also don't know the facts that were up against her. Often, even just like with Sharon Hillman, she was the director of the VA out in Phoenix. She was never held accountable for those vets who died on her watch with those fake waiting lists.
Right.
They ended up getting her for a travel claim that she had submitted, and apparently there was an error in it. It's kind of like the Al Capone thing. When you start having unions protecting employees, like Lois Lerner has the AIE union, I believe, or one of these government unions, they are advocates to protect that employee for their retirement benefits, for the time they served, and it starts getting very complex by our own design to flush out the criminal people within our own government.
No, you're absolutely correct. And why these individuals seem to be held to a different standard, seem to be held to a different punishment. I think that's what just us, John Q. Public, I think that's what enrages us on a daily basis when we see one violation after another, whether it takes a life or it doesn't take a life. These acts would throw the average one of us in prison. And Donald Trump pardoning the Navy guy, come on, Mr. Producer, what's his name? Christian Saucier. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Pardoning this week. Yeah, pardoning this week. And it's amazing because and what was kind of ironic during the campaign, he was trying to use the Hillary Clinton escape.
Exactly. I mean, we really are under an illusion that the government is out to protect us when we see all these scandals. I mean, the DOJ scandals from Eric Holder even to Loretta Lynch were overwhelming. It was overwhelmingly evident that they were by design trying to get Hillary Clinton elected. I don't know how long it will take this justice to come to light, but it's never going to be fast enough for you and me.
Right.
The wheels of justice move slowly, but they grind beautifully because it's a very painful process. But when it does get surfaced to light, we all will see the truth. It's the time for it to be revealed is under President Trump, because we know if we had President Clinton, that would have been buried along with all of Bill Clinton's demons that continue to haunt him. You did want to mention Korea. I wanted to give you my 2 cents on this.
By the way, real quick, you're talking to Jessie Jane. We're talking to Jessie Jane Duff. You can follow her at Jessie Jane Duff on Twitter. And she's Gunnery Sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps, retired. And she is going to now give us her take on Donald Trump, our president, talking to Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea.
Brutal, murderous dictator.
I think that President Trump obviously made an impact upon Kim Jong-un for him to even consider negotiations. I will say, though, I don't believe it. This third generation dictatorship, the pure goal of Kim Jong-un to have nuclear weapons is so that he can reunite the peninsula.
Right.
His pure goal is to reunite with South Korea, and he wants to leverage the American troops out, and basically it becomes one Korea again. That is a very well-known fact, and it's, of course, supported by China very cautiously, not openly, and probably Russia. Those have been their allies for decades. Kim Jong-un is potentially playing the same game that has been played time and time again, where they come to the negotiating table, and meanwhile, their scientists are working in the back room, still formulating their weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have to potentially say, I'm not going to run around and say President Trump is brilliant on this, because we haven't seen any results yet. I would also caution President Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un, because that will validate him to the world.
Yes.
That photo op is exactly what he wants. And that's why all the presidents previously refused to meet with him until he disarmed. There cannot be a meeting when you are using that photo op to your own advantage. And I understand that President Trump has always been right on so many levels, because he'll go to the most extreme suggestion and then pull back. That's the art of the deal. And maybe that's very much what he is doing. However, he can take a victory lap that he's gotten Kim Jong-un to at least say he wants to meet with President Trump.
That's true.
That's a huge accomplishment, and it does show at least we're on the right path. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer here, but we all know that photo op, let's take our rose-colored glasses off, and not be running a victory lap because we have no evidence they plan on disarming. He sees those nuclear weapons as a insurance policy for himself. Throughout the world, dictators have been killed who did not have nuclear weapons. Saddam Hussein, Madar al-Gaddafi, they did not have anything to defend themselves. As long as he has those nukes, nobody is going to his country. Nobody is dropping anything on him. We know that there's enough artillery being pointed at Seoul, Korea, that if we did a preemptive strike, they're hitting a button and getting all of those targets hit. There are roughly, I believe, 25 million people that live in South Korea and is less than 40 miles away from the border. They are a sitting duck right there.
No, absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. Jessie Jane Duff, thank you so very much for your take. Thank you so very much for your time and your insight on this. Thank you. And again, thank you so much for your talk about Jeff Sessions and giving us confidence once again that absolutely that's who he is. We got to go back to the board and realize who Jeff Sessions is, how methodical he is, and when he brings it hard, and it's ironclad.
Yeah, what did they call him? The silent assassin in Arkansas, or Alabama? I'm sorry. He brought forward justice in the most discreet and stealth way. He wasn't a leaker like all of these other people.
Yes,
very true, very true. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you, and feel free to book me anytime. I enjoy this very much, and I appreciate the booking. So have a wonderful weekend, what's left of it, and enjoy your week.
All right,
Absolutely.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Wow, awesome that we got Jessie Jane Duff on once again. I'm starting to get fired up about her insight. I really like the way she comes off.
Yeah, and she's not afraid to say things that are against the grain. You know, so many of our fans, and ourselves included, were very skeptical of what Jeff Sessions was doing and where he was going with it and everything, and she enlightened us and wasn't afraid to say it.
Right. So, and obviously, just kind of wrap it up and talking about Jeff Sessions. I want to see
what you got.
I know I've got clips of him somewhere, but apparently he's working on putting together a second grand jury, probably already in place relating to OIG investigation. So be prepared for that. And again, I did bring this up. The Department of Justice did announce on Wednesday they had additional documents to the Fast and Furious. People were tweeting about this all week long, and they were tweeting to Trey Gowdy. Maybe these are the documents Trey's been looking for.
Kind of like a Star Wars reference.
Yeah, I don't know.
Trey
Gowdy, we had so much faith in you, man. But what happened with Benghazi?
If I had
what
to
happened?
hold on. If I had to pick between the two, between Sessions and Gowdy, because they seem like these 1-2 punch that get you. Right. Very, very conservative, very like tack dog style. I would have put my money on Gowdy if I had to pick one or the other.
Right.
And not like if somebody came to me and said, Carrie, I'm from the future. One of these guys is going to go down like a cupcake, a little bit like a cupcake. I would have been like, man, Sessions, really?
Yeah.
All right, I'll put my money on Sessions going down in flames. Turns out
Trey Gowdy's leaving. He's walking away. It's over with for him. He's done.
But
there's no more.
And he did say a couple weeks ago that he was not a very good lawmaker and that he felt a little bit more comfortable being a prosecutor, which is funny because it was his time to strike, and it just whatever happened, I don't know.
Couldn't close.
It's kind of fizzled out, which is really surprising.
So the documents that were previously held by Eric Holder, who was voted in civil and criminal contempt of Congress for refusing to turn him over, President Obama invoked executive privilege like he did on a lot of things in 2012.
We had to hide as much as possible.
To prevent the release just hours before the contempt vote. Go figure that one.
There you go.
So I believe this was Jeff Sessions' statement. He said the Department of Justice under my watch is committed to transparency and the rule of law. This settlement agreement is an important step to make sure that the public finally receives all the facts related to Operation Fast and Furious. And that was released by Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions still in play. He's still at work. He's doing some great things. Sessions calls on a second special counsel, and he says, quote, I have appointed a person outside of Washington, many years in the Department of Justice, to look at all the allegations that the House Judiciary Committee members sent to us, and we're conducting that investigation. I mean, this was, if you want to talk about whose week this was Jeff Sessions' week.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that and Trump winning, we got the Pennsylvania speech, but you're right. I mean, it seems like.
Did you hear about California?
Oh, what happened with California?
They're going to secede.
They're going to secede? What happened to New California? You remember that?
Oh, the Northern California?
No. New California. They were gonna split California
in half.
Sort of vertical.
I thought they were going to go at Sacramento, leave the top.
It was going to go from L.A. It was going to include L.A. and go all the way up to the Bay Area and kind of make a little, like a very small state. The whole rest of it, shaped like a reverse C, a backward C, was going to be the New California. It was going to include San Diego, a lot of the northern coast, and then the whole east side of which is a lot of rural desert land, that kind of stuff. But obviously the conservatives in California really would prefer that because they feel like they're being drugged down by.
They want to cut the crust off, that hardened the stuff that nobody wants. Got to cut it off.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you make a pizza and you don't put the sauce far enough to the edge.
You don't want to eat it.
You just get to the end and you're like, what do I do? I don't even have dipping sauce here.
Throw it away.
So give it to the birds.
So this week, Sessions suing California. The targets of Mr. Trump's lawsuits are law adopted in 2017 that makes California a less hospitable place for immigration and customs enforcement. So here's what's going on. The Governor Jerry Brown of California has claimed that the entire state is a sanctuary state.
This has got to really upset all those conservatives in all those huge areas.
Sanctuary cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And so what is going on is that California is trying to evade and elude the law, and there's three different things that came down, or there's three different laws, three different acts that have been enacted in California that are unconstitutional in my point of view, and actually
I got to tell you what the Sunday shows have been saying.
Cause these problems. So the first one is the California Values Act.
Okay.
It prevents local authorities from telling ICE agents when jailed immigrants are due for release. California put together an act that prohibited anybody in California to tell ICE when these illegals are going to be released. That to me seems criminal. But anyway, so the second one, another law, bars employers from cooperating with immigration officials. So if you have, say, a Home Depot.
Okay.
And you're in California, and half your Home Depot is illegal, and you know that. They just provided you the right documents, and they look fake. But who are you to?
It's kind of like an Obama birth certificate.
Exactly. Who are you? I'm not an expert in birth certificates, although it looks like it's in crayon. But who am I to judge?
Although the Photoshop creator said this isn't even a good Photoshop job.
Right.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Right. Okay. So say you run this operation at Home Depot in California, and ICE agents approach your store and they say, hey, we need you to cooperate, show us your documents and the paperwork, and point us out to who you. No, man, I'm protected under California law. I ain't got to say nothing. Not only am I not protected, I am barred. I am barred by California law. I am barred from talking to you. I'm not allowed to.
Okay, that right there is something that I hope Sessions can get a victory in court on. I hope that California gets punished hard on. Here's my thing. If you're a state, you're a governor, or you're in charge of the local police station or even state police, whatever, and you just don't feel like allocating your resources to enforcing any kind of federal law. You just want to focus on the state laws. You don't even care for your law enforcement officers to even know the federal law. Just focus on the state law, enforce those, end of story. I don't really have a problem with that, other than that I think you're being kind of lazy. You're being kind of unpatriotic,
Okay.
because there could be some national security issues that we're dealing with that you are ignoring purposefully because you're telling all your people to just focus on the state laws, or if you're a local cop, local laws, whatever. So I have a problem with that. But you cross a line when you actively try to thwart federal officials.
Yes,
You're
100%.
crossing a line. When you're actually allocating resources, you're actually putting effort forth to thwart the efforts of the federal government. That's obviously a major problem, and I think they should go down in flames for that.
Right. And there's a third thing in California that gives California the power to inspect federal detention facilities to ensure that conditions meet health and safety standards. Now, the only thing about this is that, and the reason why this is thrown in there, is because it shows you the imbalance. Federal authorities are not allowed to do anything in the state of California. However, the state of California says, federal, we don't trust you, and we need to inspect your detention facilities because we believe that you may be harming or maltreatment.
So the state can inspect federal facilities.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know. What if the feds say, no, we're not letting you in here? I mean,
what do you do?
That's just me. No, let me tell you what the Sunday shows are talking about. And by Sunday, I mean a bunch of communist, liberal, anti-American people getting together to propagandize the public. They are saying, this is the talking point, they're using a phrase I have never heard before.
Wow.
State supremacy. I think they're referring to the 10th Amendment, which I don't know. Somebody's going to have to explain this to me. I'm somebody that loves to learn all the little nuances of the Constitution,
right,
and all the different clauses. A lot of times I learn them. Like I learned the Take Care Clause this past year, which was a very little known clause that forces the executive branch to enforce the laws that are written, which is interestingly ignored a lot.
CNN said that Kellyanne Conway is absolutely in 100%
so right
violation.
Now, you just looked up the supremacy clause. Let me explain that real quick, and you could even read it if you want. But the supremacy clause basically says that any federal law takes supremacy, or I should say the Constitution is the federal law. That is always takes precedent over state, local, municipal, all those laws. So in other words, a government cannot violate your freedom of speech at the local level because it's protected in the Constitution, which is the federal law. So the supremacy clause, and this has been held up in Supreme Court.
So what you're saying is each state literally lives independently of each other. However, there's still a basic game plan, a book of rules that they all have to follow.
They can't disarm you because there's the federal Second Amendment in the Constitution.
Unless you live in Illinois.
Right. So all that stuff's clearly unconstitutional. But here's the thing. The liberal propagandists, if you will, on the Sunday shows this morning were talking about a state supremacy where they're trying to accuse conservatives who are saying that there should not be sanctuary cities, blah blah blah, that ever since the Civil War we no longer have state supremacy, and that anybody trying to push this is pushing for state supremacy, which means you are a pro-slavery
white supremacist.
You're a separatist, and you're wearing the old 1800s garb.
Somebody needs to get an Oreo cookie award for finding these words.
Because I'm uncomfortable right now. Where are we going with this Oreo cookie stuff?
No, I'm just saying. It's just like I like Oreo cookies. They're my favorite.
Okay.
Chocolate chip cookie award.
Please explain this one. A chocolate chip cookie.
Somebody should get an award.
You just referred to Oreo because that's your preference of food. Okay. I'm sidestepping landmines here. No, see,
Here's my point. The mainstream media is desperate to attach certain words to certain things.
And certain ideas, too.
Correct.
Like slavery and whatnot.
Right. And they need to desperately flip, especially after Dinesh D'Souza comes out with another documentary that just destroys their entire narrative. They need to flip it again and try and use different things in different words. Somebody in the mainstream media, it's my personal opinion, was thumbing through and said, look, there's something called a supremacy clause. Okay. Let's use that word. Not, we don't even care what it means. It's the fact that the word says supremacy in it. Let's try and attach that to the other supremacists that we're trying to attach.
Oh, like white supremacists.
To white supremacists,
to
alt-right, we got to mix all these words together so that whenever you hear the word, and I'm already triggered. Anytime I hear the word supremacy come out of the mouths of the left.
Well, look at me. I mean, I'm so damaged that I hear the word Oreo and I'm like, oh, sidestep this landmine. Run!
So what do you do when you hear about the double stuffed?
The double stuffed?
The Oreos with extra stuffing in it.
I actually prefer that. Except when you bite into it, it squirts out all over the place. So. See, that's why double stuff. Hold on.
What did you heat? Did you heat it up?
No, food engineers closed middle of summer. And the air conditioner was broke. Okay, I don't know. Okay. So, no, you could tell that food engineers obviously determine the exact thickness of the filling of an Oreo in order to prevent a mess when you bite into it.
Correct.
And then somebody came along and said, you know what?
We don't have enough of that gooey middle. We need more.
Forget these engineers.
Yeah, they don't know no better.
I just want it to taste better. So, anyway, that's our little side tangent for the day.
So somebody tweeted this out. This wasn't me, and I apologize I did not put his handle next to it. No, this is probably Jack Posobiec. It says
probably.
Yeah. It says I think it was when Alabama Governor George Wallace refused to obey a federal court order to desegregate the schools, JFK sent in the National Guard to enforce the law. Question. Do you think Trump should do this with sanctuary cities and their lawless mayors?
Was it an actual poll? Because when you have a question,
it was just an answer. What do you think?
Rhetorical question.
Rhetorical.
Well, you're supposed to answer right. You're supposed to reply to it.
Well, the answer's obviously yes, but think about that. JFK, a Democrat, sent in the National Guard to enforce the desegregation of these schools. So then Trump now needs to send in the National Guard to stop the lawlessness that these mayors are conducting.
Was it JFK or Johnson? Because the Alabama the schoolhouse thing with George Wallace was June of 1963. So I don't know.
That was then obviously when JFK was newly elected.
No, he was assassinated in 63.
Sorry, not newly elected. He was right before he was assassinated.
Okay.
November
22nd of 63. Okay, so it was JFK. Well, the only reason I question it is because I just recently saw something that said otherwise. So I guess that's not right. But okay.
I'll let you off this one.
All right, you let me off.
So somebody needs to get a hold of the Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf.
Why?
Because she was the one that tipped off 800 illegal, criminal, violent, convicted, criminal, sexual assault and battery. Just all the list is long. They've been convicted. They are convicted. They live in Oakland. She alerts them that there is a coordinated ICE raid.
The only thing I can think of that would justify an elected official, whether it's local or whatever. Actually, the fact that it's local is makes it even more obvious.
Right.
That the constituency of this person is either illegal votes from illegal immigrants,
right,
or their family that may actually be legal citizens somehow or another. That's kind of strange.
It is, and I asked, and people have been talking about this on the net, and we got our good buddy Sam Keels that gave us a heads up in the private Smith Radio text message group,
which you could be a part of. for only $1 a month on patreon.com/SmithRadio. Don't forget the spelling. It's SMYTHRADIO. That's with a Y, folks.
And so he gave us a heads up on law enforcement and the connection with them and the mayor and this and that. So I gave my buddy, my local soon-to-be retired cop. He's been on the force for, probably 30 years now. And I asked him, so what is the connection with the police officer, the mayor, and the Department of Justice? And it was kind of a long stretch, and there's so much hierarchy involved, and there really isn't a connection from local mayors and governors, and there's not really technically a connection from local mayors and the Department of Justice. However, he gave me the example of the Cincinnati fake riots.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati riots?
Manufactured
Riot by the media?
Well, I mean, somebody did get shot for having a sandwich covered in aluminum foil.
Or was it bitten into the shape of a gun?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if it was a Pop-Tart or what. But, no, basically what happened with that one was a cop said, hey, stop, or something, trying to arrest somebody, trying to question somebody. And instead of saying, what, me? What do you need me for? They turned 180 degrees and started sprinting off. So the cops were like, ooh, this guy might be a bad guy. So they chased him. And, if you know anything about Over the Rhine, circa 1990, late 90s, early 2000s, imagine tenements from like the late 1800s, early 1900s, or 20th century, with no windows because they had been knocked out by the fire department when they had to put out the fire.
There would be people still living in there, though.
Well, they would be homeless. Yeah. Sometimes there would. Most of the time, it was just totally open. Sometimes no roofs. You can actually, when you're driving through, not now, it's been very well rehabbed now, but for decades, you drive through Over the Rhine, and you look up through a second-story window, and you can see the sky because the roof is gone. So literally all you have left is just like the bricks for the most part. And so, and there's a lot of these buildings. So this guy went running through these buildings. And apparently being a native of Over the Rhine probably knew like the way to go to navigate the labyrinth that is old school, burned up Over the Rhine. And apparently got trapped or cornered somewhere and decided he was hungry and pulled out a sandwich. And the cop was like, oh, crap, and shot him.
No, you didn't.
Right. And so then they came up and they realized, oh, he pulled out a sandwich. Must have gotten hungry from all that running. Riots ensued, and you know what stopped it? A couple things.
Rain?
Rain did stop it because they were going to and also Charlie Lucan, who was the mayor at the time, decided to put in a curfew, and everybody's like, oh, it's on. And they also brought in the national, the Ohio the guard.
Yeah, the guard.
Yeah, the
National
Ohio Guard or something like that. So they started coming down from Columbus, and it just stopped. But the reason it totally went out of the news is that later on that fall was 9/11.
Wow.
That happened in 2001. It's spring of 2001, and we had an unusually warm spring, which is why people were out and about rioting, and then all went away. But anyway, that's Cincinnati riots for you in a nutshell.
Okay, so and back to my point, my cop buddy who's getting ready to retire, he gave me the heads up. He said, by the way, right after the riots, the Department of Justice did an investigation in the department to see if there was any, did their own investigation to see if there's any wrongdoing and what was going on.
Or racism in general, because that's that's what they really want to find out.
And so here's the follow-up question. I said, how did they let you know that they was going to do an investigation?
Okay.
Did they just mail you something? They just show up, start thumbing through things? He's like, nah. They told us about it. We found out about it in the media.
Oh, the media. Oh, wow.
So they notified the media, and then all of a sudden it was on. So if that be the case in this situation, Jeff Sessions has said, I am going to do everything I possibly can to bring law and order. Matter of fact, I've got from the dailymail.com, I've got it's a juxtapose. It's only about a minute and 15 seconds, but it shows Jeff Sessions talking and Jerry Brown's response to it. Jerry Brown is the communist socialist governor of California who was governor back in the 70s, ousted, and then
brought back,
resurrected. It's like weekend at Bernie's all over again.
They put the paddles on him. Clear.
Let's get
Got
him
it going.
Get him going. So this is the montage that is Jeff Sessions and Jerry Brown.
A series of actions and events has occurred here that directly and adversely impact the work of our federal officers. For example, the mayor of Oakland has been actively seeking to help illegal aliens avoid apprehension by ICE. So California absolutely, it appears to me, is using every power it has, powers it doesn't have, to frustrate federal law enforcement.
Oh my gosh.
So you can be sure I'm going to use every power I have to stop that.
This is really unprecedented.
Jerry Brown.
For the chief law enforcement of the United States to come out to California and act more like Fox News.
What is he talking about? When does Fox News come out to California and accuse them? What is he talking about?
Jerry Brown, that's why Democrats roll. When you can't win, you just start to fling.
Jeff Sessions is going to provide the evidence that he's doing what he's doing. He's not going to throw wild accusations out there without evidence.
Right.
Than a law enforcement officer. There's been a lot of concern about foreign people who sow division and discord. Now we have the Attorney General doing precisely that.
So he's saying that Jeff Sessions is sowing discord.
No, I think he's seeking justice.
Law and order, maybe?
Law and order.
Maybe?
Well, law and order is where he started. But when the state and the government of the state is actively obstructing justice,
right,
then he has to get justice by going after these people.
Okay.
This is a time to build bridges, not walls, to pull Americans together, not set us apart. And like so many in the Trump administration, this Attorney General has no regard for the truth.
Oh,
what
yeah?
What said earlier today is not true.
What is the truth?
It is a lie.
What?
Kerry, he just told you it's a lie.
Notice that, guys. This is really important. Whenever the left accuses the right of lying, they have nothing. That's it. They have gotten to the end of the road of the debate, of the argument at hand, and they're done. That's it. And all you need to do at that point is say, explain to us the lie. What was said that's not true? And why, under what evidence do you have that it's actually not true? And all of a sudden they lock up.
Kerry, it's a lie.
Yeah, they just assert it because they have nothing left.
Kerry, he's doing what Fox News does to me all the time.
When you very ill-informed liberals on Twitter will say, well, Trump, he's just such a liar. Everything that he says is a lie. Nothing he says is ever true. It's lie, lie, lie. Look at all the lies. And it's like, whoa, dude, you're not even arguing at all. You just don't like the truth. You don't like to hear the truth. You don't like to hear it come out of Donald Trump. And would you like to explain to me why you think it's a lie?
Just because it is. I just feel it.
It just feels like a lie.
Because he always lies. I was watching CNN the other day. They said in his first year in office, he had 3,000 lies.
Did they tell you what they were?
They were lies.
I'm telling you, folks. Wow. And of all people, who was it? The mayor of L.A.? Is that who that is?
Brown governor. He's the governor of California.
Governor, okay.
Yeah, governor. He took over after the debacle of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was in whole cloth a Democrat.
Wow.
So, but Donald Trump had a very good weekly address. It's 3 minutes long, and I really, really, you need to listen to it. It's Donald Trump addressing the nation for this week, and it is on this point. So,
my fellow Americans, protecting the safety and well-being of American citizens is my highest duty as president. Yet lawless sanctuary jurisdictions are nullifying federal law, obstructing immigration enforcement, and releasing thousands of criminal aliens into U.S. communities to prey on innocent victims. It's absolutely terrible. For example, in recent days, San Francisco officials denied ICE's request to turn over a criminal alien with a prior conviction for battery and a charge for driving under the influence. In another city in California, local law enforcement recently denied ICE's request to turn over a criminal alien convicted of sexual battery who had a history of domestic violence, a truly violent person. And last week, the mayor of Oakland warned criminal aliens of a coming ICE enforcement action, giving them time to scatter and hide from authorities. The mayor's conduct directly threatened the safety of federal immigration officers and the law-abiding Americans in her community. The state of California is sheltering dangerous criminals in a brazen and lawless attack on our constitutional system of government. Every state in our union is subject to the laws and Constitution of the United States, including California. Yet California's leaders are in open defiance of federal law. They don't care about crime. They don't care about death and killings. They don't care about robberies. They don't care about the kind of things that you and I care about. In other recent cases, New York authorities released illegal aliens who were previously charged with assault, criminal possession of a weapon, possession of poisonous drugs, and strangling a person. In each case, New York officials had refused to turn these dangerous illegal aliens over to ICE or notify ICE about their release with enough time for them to be safely arrested. Just this week, the city of Denver refused ICE's request to turn over a criminal illegal alien charged with vehicular homicide for killing another driver in a horrific hit and run. Sanctuary jurisdictions are the best friend of smugglers, gang members, drug dealers, human traffickers, killers, and other violent offenders. We want our cities to be sanctuaries for Americans, not safe havens for criminals. That is why I'm calling on Congress to block funds for jurisdictions that shield dangerous criminals. It is time to end the bloodshed brought about by reckless sanctuary policies, and it's time to save American lives and American cities. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Awesome.
That you can go to the White House or go on YouTube and just type in White House,
right, and
all those videos will come up. You can see them all.
I'm actually surprised YouTube has not deleted that channel.
Yeah, that would be horrible if they did, because it just would be.
Well, it goes right along with
everything else they've done. Yeah.
They don't allow you to post anything political. I mean, they're very adversarial.
Well, definitely not conservative. But the one example that he gave this week, folks, this is horrific. This is a train wreck happening in California. An illegal drunk driver convicted of other crimes in the past, driving down the road, no license, no insurance, not even legally allowed to be in the country, should have been deported multiple times, hits a truck, a big tractor trailer that burst into flames, burnt and killed the driver. Illegal alien runs away and captured subsequently by local law enforcement. Local law enforcement did not turn over and would not turn over or tell ISIS when he was going to be released if he posted bail. So he posts $25,000 bail, which it's 10%, so come up $2,500. $2,500, and you get a bail bondsman, and you can be out with $2,500.
What kind of bail bondsman would put? Because if the person runs, you actually owe the whole $25,000.
Unless the state of California has some kind of reimbursement slush fund.
What?
I don't know. I never. It's a thought. It's a thought, maybe.
So here's a guy who obviously is in need of some justice because somebody was dead, and it was because of drunk driving and fleeing the scene and all this kind of stuff. And there seems to be no care for justice for the victims, and that's what the problem is. And it's really unbelievable that you can't choose right over wrong in this situation when you are a governor, a mayor, a law enforcement person? Why is it that you need to tolerate and even support and uphold injustice in order to thumb your eye at the federal government? I mean, we are constitutionalists. We wish that the country was more adhering to the Constitution the way our founders would have envisioned it from the get-go. And so that means a lot of power to the states, very, very limited centralized federal government. But when it comes to stuff that is of national security, obviously it is to defer to the federal government. And for the states to fight them on that is obviously a threat to national security.
Well, and the number one job of the executive, of the presidency, of the federal government is to protect us and the border around our entire country. That's their job. I mean, that's why the military has been given to the president is the head of the military. There's a reason for that.
I wouldn't expect California to go after terrorists in Texas.
No.
Like I wouldn't. Similarly, it's hard for us to demand that California go after terrorists in California. Right? These are foreign terrorists. I mean, they don't have the infrastructure or the setup for that. That's what the federal government's for. And yet, if you hop the border as a terrorist and you seek sanctuary in California, not only are you going to be allowed to stay there, live there, and work there, but if you're ever busted for speeding, DUI, selling drugs that you may get from your homeland or wherever you're from, poppy seeds from the fields of Iran or whatever, you're going to be shielded from any kind of action from the federal government.
And just like Trump said, sanctuary cities are in favor for lawlessness and criminal action. He wants to make America a sanctuary country for American citizens.
Right. That's the whole point.
That's what it's about.
Isn't that the point? If you've done any kind of philosophy education, that's what government is supposed to be for.
Right. So this is just a 22-second clip. This was Donald Trump in his speech this week.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. This is his new campaign slogan. Did you hear about this?
But our new slogan, when we start running in, can you believe it, 2 years from now?
Just a couple years.
It's going to be Keep America Great, exclamation point. Keep America great.
Because it's going to be great by then.
Right. And the whole thing is that why would I make America great again? We've already done that.
Well, certainly by then. There's going to be a lot of improvement. I think draining the swamp and building the wall are two big things that haven't been done yet that need to be done. But if it looks like the wall is underway to the point where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, I think people will know, it's actually going to get done.
Right.
Draining the swamp, we're going to see what Sessions ends up doing with it. If we start to see some real hard evidence of some people actually facing jail time, or at least going in front of some sort of a place that would sentence them to that if they were found guilty.
I would hope so.
I don't know what kind of a court that is, if that's the special counsel. I don't know. But if somebody gets thrown in the slammer, this is the draining of the swamp we're talking about. We've seen a lot of the draining of the swamp so far.
Right. People who are quitting, gotten fired, or have been removed. The media loves to pounce on that. Look, another one bites dust.
Well, like the firing of Comey would be considered a major draining of the swamp. You know, just stuff like that. More to come.
And any globalist. We've got to get rid of that.
Cohen. Cohen the globalist.
I got that one. So, folks, if this is the first time you've been on the show, welcome aboard. This is Smith Radio. I am Brian Smith, and if you look really closely, there we go. Right underneath me, follow me at Brian P. Smith, and Kerry, follow him at Smith Radio. And if you like what you hear and you share it with your friends and family, share it on Twitter and Facebook, jump over to patreon.com/Smith Radio and donate $1. Be part of the Smith Radio Meetup group, which is incredible amounts of information from patriots like you and me that we can talk together. We talk with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, wherever we're at. and jump over to smithradio.com, and there's a lot of wealth of information over there.
It's a lot of fun. And, I just thought this would be a great place for everybody to socialize, and like-minded people can talk, which everybody gets along so great there. It's like a party every day. What I didn't anticipate was that people contributing stuff that they find and ends up being part of the show or whatnot. It almost needs like show prep.
Right. So thank you, every one of you that are patrons of Smith Radio and are in the private message group that contribute. Thank you so much for all that you do to help us help Donald Trump make America great again.
Right. That pretty much sums that up.
So did you hear about immigration under Donald Trump? Do you know what's going on with immigration?
Well, it sounds like you tell me.
DHS, Department of Homeland Security, planning on denying green cards to legal immigrants.
Legal immigrants, okay.
Right. This was by the Hill.com, or this is by thehill.com, I believe, and they're referring to a Reuters article.
Okay.
And it goes, if they receive federal or state aid, they will not be allowed to obtain a green card. A draft of the new DHS regulation published by Reuters news agency targets immigrants who receive food stamps, Medicaid benefits, meaning welfare health insurance, which why would we need Obamacare if we already have welfare health insurance? I digress. If you're getting assistance from the government with your rent, your utilities, and if your children are enrolled in public schools.
Do what?
Yeah. So non-citizens.
Wait a minute. Are they expect that to me? That's shocking to me.
Okay, non-citizens. See, there's different levels, folks. If you don't know, you can legally be here in this country,
right?
Not be a citizen,
right?
Not be an illegal immigrant,
right?
Not have a green card. Mm-hmm. May have some other type of work status or something else. So if you have, you're legally allowed to be here for work or for schooling or for whatever, mm-hmm. and you're receiving any of these items, you will not be allowed. You want non-citizens who receive public benefits.
I'm surprised by the school thing though, because it seems to me that, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say some big corporation, let's say General Electric right up the street. And this is actually common. You see a lot of people that they may be here temporarily. There was a French guy. We had a partnership at GE where we worked in conjunction with a French company in France to build a jet engine. And there was a French guy there, like an engineer, process engineer or something, who was working with us. He was here as an immigrant. I don't even know. Is immigrant the right word?
No, it's a worker permit. It's a work permit or a visa or some type of. Yeah.
He was here for at least a year. Okay. If he had kids, which I don't know if he did, he's kind of a young guy, but in his 20s, maybe early 30s. But if he had kids, I would assume that it would not be an issue whatsoever that his kids went to the local public school.
Okay, so if he attempted to apply for a green card, which would allow him to stay in America and have American benefits and all this other things, under this, he would not be allowed to obtain his green card because his children
were going to the public
school that he's not contributing to.
Right. So I guess my question is, and some people there may be people listening right now that know the answer to this. If you are here for work and you bring your kids with you because you're here for a long period of time, not just a month or something, we're talking like a 12-month stay to go and work at, let's say, a General Electric, and you bring your kids with you and they go to the public school, are you supposed to pay tuition?
You would think.
Now, I will say this. They have a new open enrollment thing. You may not know about this, Brian. This is a really recent thing. It used to be you went to the school of the neighborhood that you lived in.
Right.
Because your local taxes and whatnot go to those schools, and that's why
my family moved out of this area to go to a different school.
Okay. They have this new open enrollment thing where you can go to whichever school you want to, even out of area. The issue is that you're supposed to pay tuition if you do that. So you actually can actually be charged tuition if your child, like let's say I live in
But aren't you paying taxes already for the local school that you're in?
I think that should go towards
Yeah.
Right. In fact, my daughter actually goes to a private school. I think it should be reimbursed all the taxes that I pay for the local public school.
Right.
So I am contributing to communism in that regard, but I have no choice. The gun's to my head. I'll go to jail if I don't pay my taxes.
Oh, no.
I'll be like Wesley Snipes.
Or Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
You heard,
don't want to end up being like that.
You know what happened to Willie Nelson?
Tax evasion?
Yeah.
Or was it drugs?
No, in the meat business, when people are like, we would charge them tax. They'd be like, I don't pay no tax. But, oh, that's okay. I mean, you heard what happened to Willie Nelson.
Oh.
And then they'd be like, all right, you son of a gun. Okay.
Yeah, you got to pay the tax.
Got to pay the pork chop tax.
The pork chop tax. All right.
So this article states that if this regulation had been in play since 2016, it would have been in effect since 2016. 383,000 immigrants who receive public benefits would be denied permanent residencies, according to Reuters.
Now, what usually happens is, and you hear this all the time, people are like, I didn't illegally immigrate here. I came here legally. But are you legal now? No, well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the truth is they overstayed their green card. So
this isn't like baseball. You get to second base and I'm not tagged out. I got on base. No, man, this ain't baseball.
Well,
this is America.
Right. Well, what you'll see is a lot of the illegal immigrants actually came here legally. They had a green card, everything, or a visa or whatever, and they overstayed it.
And I know of a story, firsthand, someone that I know was dating, and you know her too, was dating an individual from Peru.
Oh, Peru. Okay.
Right. And so he had a visa, and he was going to school up here, and that's why she met him, ran into him in Peru. And they dated for a while. He had friends that came up here, too, to go to school from Peru. They're pretty wealthy, pretty well off. His friends got jobs with reputable companies, and the companies went on to sponsor these young Utes.
Utes? What's a Ute?
From Peru. And so they subsequently got to stay. Maybe they got green cards. Maybe they got extended visas, whatever that was. Well, he said to this individual that we know, the guy from Peru, he said, well, why don't we just get married?
Okay.
And she's like, well, why don't you just get a job?
What? Yeah, that'll do it.
I've got so much newfound respect for her. Absolutely. So the marriage never happened, thank the good Lord above. And he went back to Peru, and his friends are still here working.
Are they legal?
Of sorts, yeah. Yeah, they're legal.
Okay.
They're legal because the company that they work for has sponsored them.
Okay. So they have all that documentation, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So anyway, so Trump. So here's what's going on. If you guys jump over to MAGApill.com, I've promoted them. They've changed the website a little bit as from last week to this week, but it's tons of great information. And when you go down, it's almost like Breitbart News, or not Breitbart, Matt Drudge, like Drudge Report. When you go to the Drudge Report, and by the way, did you know there's a Drudge Retort?
Really?
I was
sense.
at work, and I typed in Drudge Report, and I said, oh, there it is. I clicked on it real quick. And I had it bookmarked for about a week, and I kept going back to it. I'm like, the hell are all these articles?
Okay.
None of them are awful, but it's like Vox News, and they're lying articles. I'm like, why would Matt Drudge put up fake articles? And he's not even trolling me with the titles.
You misspelled it, didn't you?
It is Drudge Retort.
So you misspelled it.
And it is the negative, the opposite.
Could be worse. You could be in your cubicle at work and try to look something up on the internet. A definition or maybe a spelling of a word. And you type in dictionary.com and you leave out a letter. And next thing you know, you got pop-ups and sound effects. And
I had an old guy who was in his 60s.
Yeah?
And he's in his cubicle and he typed in. We were talking about playing cornhole. So he typed
you
it.
Can't,
Yes, he
no,
did.
you cannot search cornhole on
Not at work.
Google at work.
He's like, I wanted to know the distance and the rules and the regulations.
Right.
I'm like,
well, hold on.
You're getting
ahead of the audience here because cornhole is a game that is very popular in Cincinnati. In fact, we have the national cornhole championships locally here in Cincinnati because this is where it started. This is where, all this. So what cornhole is it's that game with the bean bags, and you got to throw it on the wooden platform with the hole in it. And if it hits the platform, you get a point. If it goes in the hole, you get 3 points. And you throw 4 bean bags. You take turns. You go in teams of 2, and that's cornhole, the game.
So when I lived in California from 2001 till 2012, and I came back to Cincinnati in 2012, and everybody's like, "Hey man, you want to play cornhole?" It's you better get away from me. What's wrong with you, boy? No, Brian, come here. Let me show you.
I don't play cornhole.
You ain't showing me nothing, son.
No, come back over here. It's around the corner. It's down this dark alley.
Folks, I never seen.
Oh, it got super popular.
I'd never seen the game before my entire life.
Because when Brian left for California, he grew up in Cincinnati. When he left, cornhole had not gotten big. And for those of you, it's actually a ripoff of an old game called Bago or Beano or Bago or something like that.
Well, they had to drop the Beano because
Beano
that's
racist. Beano's the name of that the company that sells
anti-gas.
Yeah.
Are they still in business?
No, Bago. Bago may not be in business, but Bago was actually cornhole before cornhole came along.
Really?
So anyway, are you looking it up right now? Yeah, it's like before cornhole came along, it was Bago. Apparently some company, I don't know. But anyway, so it's called cornhole. The problem is you can't look it up on Google.
No.
You get in trouble at work.
I don't know where we've gone and what we were trying to talk about, but that was good times. Now back to the rest of the story.
Immigration.
So, go to MAGAPill.com. Don't go to Drudge Report.
Make sure you spell it right.
Right. So anyway, MAGAPill.com, it's just like that, but now they're links where they have their links and they're categorized Trump's economy, Trump's government, Trump's military, just everything to do with everything Trump.
Okay.
And when your mouse goes over the link, it opens up just a little bit to give you a picture and a little description of it, which is really super neat. And it goes really quick, so it's not like it's taking up space. But if you're on a PC, you're screwed anyways. So I digress. So Trump takes the shackles off ICE, which is slipping them on illegals.
That may explain why they're cracking down on these sanctuary cities and states, because this is the bottleneck for them.
ICE raids hit 77 businesses in Northern California.
They need to knock this off. Listen, we don't even need a wall if there is a government in place that with a law that they can enforce that requires all businesses across the country to do E-Verify. You don't even need a wall. Think about it. If you're not legally in the country and you have no way to earn any money, there should be a place where you can go, run by the government, where you show up and say, I'm starving, I'm thirsty, I have no place to live, I have no place to go, and I have no way to make any money because I'm illegal. And they'll say, oh, well, we'll
here's
put
a bottle of water, here's a bologna sandwich.
Here's a bologna sandwich. Here's where you go to sleep for the next day or two before the bus leaves to take you to wherever you need to go to get you back to home, and that's it. That's how it should go. Yeah. You don't even need a border wall.
Yeah, you can have that money for the border wall.
And the sad part is
set up to pay bus tickets.
Well, the sad part is that we will need a border wall because one day, and guys, I'm really sorry to have to say this, but I'm old enough to have seen it over and over and over again. There will be a Democrat president again one day, and it'll be sooner than we wish. It's going to happen. I don't know why. I mean, look at Ronald Reagan. People were like, oh my gosh, Ronald Reagan's such a great president. We've got to keep it going with Republicans. We're going to elect George H.W. Bush, and he couldn't go beyond 4 years. And we're stuck for 8 years with a Democrat. Then we
Stuck with
got
8
George
more
W.
years from a
Bush,
Democrat.
and then 8 more years with Obama. It will happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen.
28 years split up between conservatives and
Yeah.
Democrats.
Yeah.
Can you believe 28? That's a generation or
and
two.
see, you're blaming conservatives, which I totally get, and I agree with you. But we had Ronald Reagan, and
Right.
it still didn't stop it. It
No.
didn't stop it. You know, there's a sucker born every minute.
Well, and look how close Obama was to just taking it all.
Well, yeah, and I
I
think
mean, they were going to give it up. They were going to do this. They said, okay, we cannot do this like Hugo Chavez did. And we don't want to go down that road because
Why not?
Because those Bible thumping, gun toting, American hillbillies, because that's what they call all of us. And rednecks. They hate us all.
Yeah.
All of us. We don't want to do that because we don't want to cause that much of a disruption.
Okay.
And we don't even need to cause a disruption. They won't even know it. We'll just steal the election and slip it on through.
Yeah,
Who
at the end of the
cares?
day, I think somebody figured out in the Democrat Party that you can steal the election and there's really no oversight nationwide to really ensure that doesn't happen. It's more of a local thing, but if you could take over at the local level, then you can steal elections.
Right, or just give Putin a call.
Wow.
Anyways.
Is that why he was hacking the election?
Anyways.
Trying to get those Democrats to win.
End of year report. Deportations up 40%. Historically low border crossings.
That was right off the bat. One of the first good news that came out of the Trump presidency, like within, a month or so?
Right.
Was that we had like a 70% reduction in illegal border crossings. That was when the idea for a wall, the push for it.
Started to wane a little bit.
Yeah, the desperate, like, we need bricks up now.
You could actually pay and buy a brick and put your name on it. Somebody was selling that.
Oh, that guy, that's the MAGA brick guy, base brick man or something.
Yeah, he's selling bricks.
Yeah, I actually was looking into it, but I actually kind of forgot about it. But you could buy. They're beautiful. You could get a real brick, and it was like laser inscribed and like it was carved.
Wow.
Almost like a tombstone, but
wow.
It was really nice. Or you can get like a glass one or a metal one. Like this guy had all kinds of cool stuff.
So he would mail it to you?
Right. You would have to pay for shipping and all that kind of stuff. So
I just do it at my house. So anyway, so that's the big news. Deportations up 40% and historically low border crossings. This is kind of interesting. Did you hear about this?
What's that?
DACA. You have to renew your DACA every 2 years. You have to renew it.
Okay, makes sense. Because you are illegal. And remember, DACA is a program that
allows you to stay here.
Yeah, because it
illegally.
It's deferring your arrest and deportation because you fit in this very narrow category of DACA.
So the renewals for DACA dropped 21%.
Why though? If I was DACA, if I'm an illegal immigrant and I'm protected by DACA, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that I'm still on top of that.
Well, this by Breitbart. Under former President Barack Hussein Obama, 2012 DACA amnesty, almost 800,000 illegal aliens applied and were allowed, every one of them. All 800,000 applied.
Oh, so all you had to do was apply.
All 800,000 applied, and they all got it. And they were allowed to remain in the United States. They were also given 2-year work permits.
Which makes sense. And then you renew that every 2 years.
So how else? Yeah, right.
Well, that's the whole thing about DACA is it's kind of temporary amnesty is what it is.
However, many have dropped out of the amnesty program, leaving roughly 690,000 were enrolled in September. And this past September, only 690,000 were enrolled. USCIS did not explain the 21% drop, but federal officials promised to implement a more rigorous security check allowed other than what Obama's deputies did. So here's the thing. this former manager of the agency investigative unit, his name's Matt O'Brien, he said that we found a fraud rate. We did the numbers, and we started looking into it, and we come up with a number of fraudulent claims.
Like, for instance, I was this age prior to the deadline date, and you're lying about that. That would be DACA fraud.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
He said there's a 40 to 50% fraud rate.
But wouldn't you? That's why we need to check it. Like,
yes,
you can't just say, listen, here's the deal. You've been here illegally for a long time, and you remain illegal. But you could get on DACA if you satisfy these requirements.
Right.
Sure, I would say that anybody who does not qualify based on one or more of the requirements will lie. I would almost guarantee it.
Why not?
Your only other recourse is that, assuming that they aren't qualified. If they're qualified, and that's it.
Right.
But if they're not qualified, they either lie about it, don't sign up at all, or are honest and hope for the best. I would say that they would be more likely to not even apply at all than to just tell the truth about the fact that they're not eligible and hope for the best.
So I'm going to put a couple of things together, and I think Trump's master plan,
which explains the 21% reduction.
The final plan that Trump has in play. I just joke. This is part of it. Trump knows what's going on, and when he told the Democrats, this is 3D chess, not 4, not 20.
It almost seems like 2D chess.
Could be even 2D. Donald Trump was presented with the situation, saying, Trump, he has the guy come up in front of him, it could even be Matt. He comes up in front of him and says, Mr. Trump, we've got a 40 to 50% fraud rate. We can prove it. We can find it. And if they meet the criteria, we'll let them in. If they don't meet it, they're out. And I'm telling you right now, here's the numbers, 50% fraud rate, 800,000, don't even nearly meet it. 400,000 meet the requirements. Mr. Trump, take that information to the bank. And Mr. Trump says, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
This is,
somebody give him a promotion, because now, Democrats, I now present to you the new DACA plan of 1.9 million DACA recipients. Instead of your measly 800,000, I will more than double your offer, all in.
This is fascinating. This is fascinating. So the reason Trump went all in on DACA amnesty was because the numbers are way less than what we're said to believe.
Yeah.
And the Democrats aren't going along with it because they know it. Oh, my gosh. This is groundbreaking.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks.
Wow. Groundbreaking Smith Radio here. This is fascinating. Yeah. I am just mind blown over here. Mind blown. So the numbers, this 1.8 million is just what...
1.9.
1.9 million is just what Trump is saying publicly.
It's up to, he even said it verbally, he said up to 1.9 million if you qualify.
And he's not lying, because that number is what I'm making out from Brian's report here based on all the stats you just said.
And Breitbart News reporting this.
Breitbart News and Brian here telling you guys. It sounds to me like he's not lying saying 1.9, because that number is based on the theory that all the DACA people are not fraudulent. Right. And if they're not fraudulent, we could end up with 1.9. But if it's 40 to 50% fraudulent, then we're back down to that 800,000.
No, 400, half a mil.
So you're saying, wow. So where'd the 1.9 come from?
He just said, I'll up you.
I'll double you. I remember the article. The 1.9 was the idea, this theory that, well, the 800,000 are only the ones that applied, but there's at least double that, maybe more, who would qualify for it that never signed up for it. They never signed up for it.
Well, that's what the Democrats were pushing. They were trying to say there's more than 800,000.
There's 1.9 million.
According to Trump.
So Trump Trump might be using their number.
Sure. Why not?
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious.
And then they pull out.
You're right. This is 3 or 40 chess.
They pull out because one,
They know the number's really small.
right, and two, it's Trump's idea.
Right. That's we already reported that.
Yeah.
That was breaking news for Kerry Smith. Both of us, I think. Was it 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago? Where we just flat out told you this DACA thing. Oh, maybe it was way back when that was like a month ago.
I think it was about a month.
Yeah,
ago.
a month ago. The thing about DACA is that he knows that the Democrats have to fold.
Correct. They've
knew
got
it.
nothing. They've got no cards. They're holding a 2 and a 4.
They have
They're
7
offsuit.
high. They have 7 high.
I gave them 4 high.
And even though they know that the other guy has the worse hand, or I'm sorry, the better hand. Trump knows that they have a hand, but they don't have a good enough hand to call the all in.
No.
They know they have to fold, so he goes all in and they fold.
And it was the way they were acting and responding that he could clearly call their bluff. It was easy to call it.
Oh, that's funny.
And so he called it, and all of a sudden, what happened to DACA, guys? March is here. March Madness is here.
They're like, what, DACA what?
March Madness starts on Tuesday, folks. March Madness. And we got the vote on DACA's got to come up this month. They got to do DACA this month.
And did you hear, if you guys listened to his speech in Pennsylvania, was it yesterday or the day before? It was one of those. It was the past couple days. He said, hey, and this is kind of funny because even Stefan Molyneux posted on Twitter that the crowd was very quiet and very concerned when he brought up DACA. But Trump brought up that, hey, these are good people. We need to solve this problem. We need to take care of it. We're the Democrats on this. He was calling them out. And I was kind of surprised that he brought it up for the same reason that Stefan Molyneux was surprised that he brought it up. Because the crowd was just like, oh, don't tell me about DACA. We need to just send them all home. So there's a lot of the Trump base would prefer to just send them all home.
I think Trump is pandering in a good way to independents and bleeding heart citizens of America.
He's a pragmatic problem solver. And
ooh, PPP.
I think it's 2 pregnant problem. PPS. Whatever. So he's a pragmatic problem solver, and I think it's problematic to say, hey, all you guys that spent, let's say, a majority of your childhood here, you went to school here, you don't even remember your native country.
You don't even remember the last time you went to your native country.
Yeah, all these things are theoretically possible, and I know there's people that do qualify for DACA that are that probably would not fit that description.
And we talked about the Trail of Tears. It's never going to happen, folks. It cannot happen. It would be on Trump's hands, and he would not allow that to happen.
You know, and that if you really stop and think about this 4D chess situation, that's the 4D chess that the Democrats were playing. That as long as they can threaten to make the Republicans do a Trail of Tears, they're all in on that.
Yeah. And we've got these dumb idiot Republicans who don't know no better. Paul Ryan, give Obama a couple $1 trillion just because he asked for it. You don't know no better and just go ahead and play ball. They play ball to play ball. You know, we got to stop that because the Republicans that are playing ball with the Democrats are destroying the entire country.
So you're describing the second type. There's 2 types of Republicans, and Trump is trying to end this line of thinking. It's like a paradigm shift. The one is the Paul Ryan types, which is what Brian just mentioned. That's where we're getting hammered on this immigration thing.
Reach across the aisle.
Yeah, we need to reach across the aisle. We need to do.
Kerry, I know we won. We won in 2010 landslide. We took back the House, the Senate, Kerry, but we need. Oh, we took back the House. And in 2014, we took back the Senate. Kerry, we need to reach across the aisle.
And we need to be nice to illegal
Obama.
immigrants because all of the legal voting Hispanics will be nice, will appreciate that and say, you know what? I've been a Democrat all this time, but you know what? Paul Ryan seems to be really nice to illegal immigrants. Let's go ahead and reward him by voting for him. That's literally what their line of reasoning is. So there's that side of the Republicans. The other side is the if they're illegal under any circumstance, they need to go home now, and they're not thinking dynamically. If this applies to you, I'm sorry if this sounds like a bashing of you personally or criticism of you personally, but you got to think more dynamically. There are people who may have been brought over here as young children illegally, and they are illegal because they were born in another country. Right. They were brought over here, let's say, by a coyote or whatnot. And they could have been so young that they don't even know their native language, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward all these years later, they're an adult. Let's say they're in their 20s. They don't know nothing else except for America. And now you send them home and you got Trail of Tears, which is exactly what the Democrats want. So you have these two different sides. You got the one that's like send them all home no matter what. I'm like send all of them home except for the 4 to 7% that are what we would consider DACA qualified.
Right.
And that's what Trump is too. Trump's like, send them all home. But you know what? DACA is a situation that we have to deal with, that we have to solve. The Democrats actually don't want to solve it because they can continue to threaten the Republicans with the Trail of Tears.
Well, not only that, but it's the whole same thing. It's like, if the doctor cures you, then you don't need a doctor anymore.
Interesting. What do you do if you cure cancer? The doctors are out.
Not only if you cure cancer
and heart disease
instantly
and mortality,
no more pink socks on football players.
Oh my gosh,
there's so much money gone to waste.
Yeah,
I know I'm being a little cynical here, but I'm talking about the Democrats. If the Democrats let go of their racist side, their spewing of racism and hatred and anger, and if they got rid of that, there would be nothing left. They'd be Republicans.
That's why they're specifically not problem solvers. And sometimes I think, if you look back at like the Cold War, you got this big, huge power, the United States, this big, huge power, the Soviet Union. And as long as they were at each other's throat with the possibility of one being able to annihilate the other, as long as it is the public knowledge that they both want to destroy the other side,
right.
then the public will push for a military-industrial complex. It's conspiratorial. It's tinfoil hat. It's black helicopter stuff. But if you're in power, isn't that enticing? Isn't it like, as long as we can keep telling the public that any day now the Reds are coming.
The Red Coat. Oh, those
the Reds, the Ruskies, the bear, the big bear in the East is coming for us. And likewise, the other side. I knew the Soviet Union was probably like, hey guys, we need to work hard for nothing, for free, for fatherland. We need to work hard in the military. We need to use all of our resources, send it to the top, send it to the leadership so that they can delegate it to the military. That'll keep the big bad capitalist pigs at bay.
Man.
I'm telling you, I mean, it's like I said, it's tinfoil hat stuff. But
let me put a call in at Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and see if they're ready to let go of slavery and racism.
Okay, that's
Jim
another
Crow
one.
Laws.
As long as the white people and the black people are at each other's throat.
Jesse Jackson has a job for life.
Yeah, I mean, so
Al Sharpton, all of them.
Right, and so my pitch to you, which is not a moneymaker, it's not going to make us rich.
Okay.
I just want to make America a better place for us, for our children, for your children, for you. Don't buy into this crap.
I want to go back to the 90s where I didn't even know about racism.
Do you know why the 90s was so great? Because the Cold War ended, and suddenly we had white America and black America. We had in Living Color.
Yeah, we had a common thread. Folks.
The Cosby Show.
In Living Color, I'll tell you what. I've been watching some of that with my daughters, and they love the ugly Jamie Foxx doing
Ugly Wanda.
Ugly Wanda.
Right.
Hysterical.
No, I mean that was the decade.
They do poke fun at Whitey a little much, but they make fun of everybody. They make fun of everybody, and it was all fun and games. My kids laugh about it. It just whatever. Went with the time.
And I'm going to give a little credit to Eddie Murphy because there was a lot of crossover appeal there. Before Eddie Murphy came along, there was a lot of natural, not imposed, but natural.
Richard Pryor.
He didn't have as much crossover, though, I don't think. I mean,
The movie Toy with Jackie Gleason. And the white kid? And the rich white boy bought him as a slave? You see the movie?
Wow.
It's a good movie.
Oh, gosh.
It had those undertones to it, but in the end, spoiler alert,
everybody laughed about it.
It was a good, wholesome kid learning.
Back then, though, check this out.
To be a man.
Back then, a black character in a movie could joke about how a white guy was treating him like a slave, and everybody would get a laugh about it because
it's not true.
It doesn't matter whether you're white or black. You know slavery's over.
Right.
These days, you see the crazy stuff that's coming up, and you see the reaction. And I got a story to tell you. The other day, I met this woman, young woman. Oh, well, young compared to me. She's in her late 20s, and she's Hispanic. And I wasn't sure if she was Hispanic or not. I figured it out eventually. She just seemed like a normal woman, and we were kind of working together, and next thing you know, she was talking about this thing that she does where she delivers, Uber.
Yeah.
Apparently they have something called Uber Eats.
Never heard of it.
Neither have I. Apparently, you can make money delivering food to people.
What?
Yeah, somebody gets hungry in the middle of the night and they're drunk and whatever, and they want somebody to pick them up Wendy's.
I'm hungry right now.
Yeah, and there's also DoorDash. DoorDash is the competitor to Uber Eats, and they also do the exact same thing.
I just typed in UB and
Uber Eats came up. Well, no, it's because your computer's listening to me. It's Big Brother.
They are.
Yeah, it's Steve Jobs is actually still alive. They just uploaded his memory into the computers. And just saying. So anyway, if you want Wendy's in the middle of the night, you can but you can open up the app Uber Eats, and somebody will show up at your door with some Wendy's Baconator with Biggie fries.
Biggie fries and supersize.
No, supersize is trademarked by McDonald's. Or is it WickDonald's since it's a W now?
Hey, what's your address?
Are you gonna? He's delivering something right now. Okay, so here's my point. This woman says she's making money doing Uber Eats, and she said, Carrie, you would not believe the kind of money these rich people have. They'll spend all kinds of money on getting you to do stuff for them. It's not just Uber Eats. There's all kinds of services all over the place that are doing this.
Dude, they'll deliver Grater's ice cream to your house.
Right. And it's pretty expensive. So for instance, if I wanted an $8, which is actually that's a premium value meal, like $8.50 for let's say a Baconator meal, it's like an extra $5 or $7. You're pretty much paying double to have somebody drop it off at your door. So you can have your Baconator meal, Biggie fries, all this stuff for probably about $15. So anyway, and she makes tons of money doing this, or so she says. And she said, Brian, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Sit down for this. You might want to take a seat for this.
Okay.
She said, I'm telling you, man, there's people out there with all this money. I think these people are former slave owners. This woman. Now, I thought she was young.
No.
I thought she was like maybe.
Did you laugh at her and say, "Are you
joking?"
No,
I froze because I just met this woman. I just met her, and I was like, "Play it cool."
Why would former slave owners have all
the
money?
Now let me explain something to people because
is she an American?
Well, she has to be a citizen. Yeah, she's a citizen.
Do you think she was raised in the American school system? That's kind of
I would say yes, 100%.
Holy crap!
She said all these rich people. Now, mind you, we live in El Norte.
El Norte.
Cincinnati is where the Underground Railroad ended,
which means you were in freedom.
This is where they came. Okay, the escaped slaves. Also, slavery ended in the 1860s.
Right. Done.
Which means that there are no former slaves. So I have to explain this to you people. And by you people, I mean people watching. Boy, we are not avoiding any landmines today. So, okay. So when you hear somebody say, oh, you're just a former slave owner, or my people were enslaved for 400 years. what they're really saying is somewhere in the ancestry, way down the line, at some point, you can connect to either slave or slave owner. Which, by the way, little bit of
What about the Irish?
Well, yeah,
They were enslaved for a long time.
Here's the thing: how many people were slave owners? I don't know. It was a very small percent that owned slaves.
Oh, during the South in America.
Yeah,
black slave. Yeah, there were a lot of black slave owners.
Okay.
That were brutally just tyrannical to their slaves.
If you're from the South, though, let's say you lived in the South. Let's say you could just transport there and be somebody who lived in the South back in the early 1800s or maybe even prior, whatever. What percentage chance would you be of being a slave owner? I think it was very low. Very small percentage of people actually were wealthy enough. It's kind of like, how many people do you know own a business, right? There's people out there that work for a business, hourly, salary, or whatever. How many people do you know actually own a business? Well, it's probably roughly about the same amount of people that, percentage-wise, that owned slaves back then. So the idea...
It peaked in 1860, 1.4%.
1.4% of people own slaves.
This is by PolitiFact. 1.4% of the Americans owned slaves.
Even if it was 2%, that means 1 out of 50 people. 49 out of 50 people.
What your history books don't tell you is that 3,000 blacks owned a total of 20,000 slaves.
Okay. So it was pretty much not even a racial thing for the most part.
No, it was a money thing.
Right.
And they still have slaves in Africa to this day.
Okay, so my point is that when somebody says former slave owners or whatever, they're talking about their ancestry. It's weird how the progressive mind thinks after being so thoroughly indoctrinated by the left and by progressive Department of Education.
I'm shocked by that child. Somebody needs to give that child a wake.
She's 27.
That's a child. Well, she's got a child mind. Childlike mind.
Yeah, and this woman's pretty much an entrepreneur because she's going out there working part-time jobs.
She doesn't understand that she's a Republican.
Somebody needs to.
She's a conservative capitalist,
right? She was marveling to me about the kind of money that anybody could make if they weren't so lazy. If they just get up and say, "Let's go out." Yeah,
she's a Trump supporter and don't even know it.
She don't even know it. Like, Carrie, you wouldn't believe, and she attributes it to former slave owners that are lazy. She was calling the people that are rich too lazy to go out there, get in their car, drive to McDonald's, and pick up their value meal. That they would call up or get on their Uber Eats app and have somebody like her go out and do it. And she loves the technology that allows her to do that and all this kind of stuff. But the fact that she said these people have money, so they must be former slave owners, is really an eye-opener. Like, where does this come from? Where does this thought process come from? So I didn't challenge her on it because I wanted to hear more about her overall thing. I didn't want to put the brakes on learning what it is she thinks.
I would have.
Well, I'm sure I'll see her again.
Sister, you got to pump the brakes on this.
Pump the brakes. Well,
I was going to save this for the end of the show, but this is the timing right now.
All right.
So did you hear what's going on in America?
Trump's the president?
Boom, boom, boom. Jobs, booming economy. Folks have scoped about this through the week, and I'm sure you've heard about this, but
I wanted to steer in that direction. Do you attribute this economy to the new Trump administration?
No, it's to the white slavery administration.
Oh, no, it's former slaves. Gosh, if it wasn't for former slaves, there would be no money anywhere.
We wouldn't have any money at all.
Oh, my. Former slave owners, I should say. Yeah.
Wow. Well, the month of December, we had 160,000 new jobs added to the workforce in December, and in January we had 200,000. I'm just rough numbers, 200,000 in January, and once again, Carrie, those numbers were revised, and which way?
Well, they always go down, right? I mean, they try to pump you up with big numbers, and then they come back and say, "Hey, I was going to keep this quiet, but just FYI, those numbers we gave out last week, just quietly." They're lower.
Half?
Well, whatever they are, they're
significantly,
lower.
okay.
So let people believe the false number.
Right.
And then they won't know what the real number is because we're just going to release this quietly.
Well, Trump's numbers are revised up.
You mean unemployment is up?
No. On contraire, mon frère. And that's about all the French I know. But on the contrary, my friend, the numbers were revised up for December and up for January, adding an extra 60,000, 56,000. They were off that much. I mean, it happens.
So the initial report that was great news was under...
Well, 150 is kind of so-so. It's not the greatest. And for those of you who don't know, because there's people who ask me...
Yeah, give us a recap.
I talked about it today, and they're like, well, I don't know. What's it supposed to be? Well...
in other words, what do these numbers mean?
Well, the attrition... I mean the... people leaving the workforce and people entering the workforce, you have to have, there's a balance, this break-even number. And if you have 150 to 200,000 coming into the workforce every month, with those leaving, you're almost kind of floating even. It's not
really.
Yeah.
So 50,000, and the reason for that is you have population growth. So if the population is growing,
well, you have
naturally.
people that, you have people that naturally die, people that retire,
yep.
People that go on leave, sick leave for years on end, whatever it be.
Permanently.
Right. There's people that leaving and people coming in.
Gotcha.
So you need a healthy 150, 200,000 coming through, and you would really like to be in the 200,000s.
And that's break even.
Yeah. Once you get up into the 200,000s, you're doing a lot better.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So Trump's numbers for January revised up to 230,000, 200 some odd thousand, which is good. Those are good numbers. There's happy numbers. And the what month has 28 days in it?
February.
All of them.
Oh, jeez.
I got my kids on that one too. Hey,
they all have 28 days.
State law. They all have to 28 days. That's state law. Anyway,
I didn't know that.
So the shortest month of the year, 28 days, February, you would think, it's only short by a couple days, but it's the shortest day of the year, and it's still wintertime. It's not big booming summertime or fall. We had 313,000 people added to the workforce.
Nice.
313,000.
Okay.
I don't remember when I saw a number like that.
So these are big numbers.
It's so, like even the Trump administration was shocked. They were dumbfounded. Like, wait, somebody better double check these numbers.
Did somebody put a comma in the wrong place, a decimal point in the wrong place? Because if this was Obama, it would be a decimal point off, right?
Yeah, you would think it would be, right. And so they're just wondering. They're looking into it. Like, what's going on here? I just don't. This is. Here it is. This is it's almost kind of unbelievable, if you will. And so this is Varney. Varney has on a Trump guy. Yeah,
a Trump guy.
That's
that
good.
guy.
That's good.
Awesome.
For me to say that, huh? Oh, Lord have mercy.
Great intro.
Yeah.
Staying on the market, so I want to talk about the jobs report. Joining us now, Mark Short, White House Director of Legislative Affairs.
Okay, so he has Mark Short on of Legislative Affairs.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm sure you're going to say that this is a fantastic blockbuster jobs report. Go ahead and say it.
Well, Stewart, it is.
That's a leading question.
I think that it's not just the 313,000 for February, it's also the upward revisions for January and December. I know you'll know this, but keep in mind we recognize the government doesn't create these jobs. We create the environment in which the private sector can create these jobs.
That's
a mic drop right there. That's it. That's all you need to know. And if anybody tries to tell you any differently, they just don't get it.
Right. And so when Democrats, during Obama, it was Obama that did everything because that's magic powers. But now they'll tell you, oh, Trump, and I'm getting this from Gen X, I'm getting this from the libs, all the libtards are saying, oh, that Trump doesn't have anything to do with creating jobs, and he didn't know anything. He stole what he got. He's creating the environment, ergo, creating the environment for jobs to be created.
Right.
We're excited about all the changes we've made from a regulatory perspective as well as the tax relief that's allowing the private sector to take off.
Mark, I don't know whether you've seen this or not yet, but for the benefit of our viewers, I'll tell you what's happening here. Nancy Pelosi has just released a statement on the jobs report. Here it is.
You know it's got to be good, right?
See, this is where you got to go full screen so they could read that.
We got more. Well, here's what we've got. We've got more crumbs. I'll get my name out of there. There we go. You got to give Fox Business News some credit. She's giving more crumbs to the folks.
February's job report shows that while jobs continue to be created, working Americans are still not getting the bigger paychecks they deserve. Strong job growth means little to the American workers forced to work multiple jobs because of stagnant wages.
That's ridiculous.
Can you explain that to me? I don't understand. What does that mean?
Strong job growth means little to the American workers forced to work multiple jobs because of stagnant. Where's the rest of that
wages.
Tweet? Stagnant wages.
They clipped wages off.
That is the You know what? That is a great example of what I call tortured logic.
There you go.
That is tortured logic, demonstrated perfectly.
Next case. Republicans passed a debt-exploding GOP tax scam that hands massive windfalls to the rich and to corporations on the backs of hard-working Americans.
They're paying it forward. They've given thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars collectively, millions collectively as businesses across the country back to their employees. They're given these huge bonuses. And then, Brian was talking about his friends that are getting shockingly big tax returns.
So my millennial, I don't know quite how much he makes, but I can only kind of guess that between him and his wife, they're probably over $50,000 a year. She works full time. He works full time. They have a house and 2 cars and 2 cats. That's just how they roll.
Can they? Are those deductions?
Well,
they're dependents. Oh boy!
Please don't laugh at that.
Oh, everybody's looking at Nancy Pelosi.
So they're there we go. So they're his dependents. They take care of them. They've agreed, and this is what we're going to do. Okay. Anyways, I digress. So they normally get back, just for numbers, just round numbers. They normally get back $1,000 a year after all they paid in. They file it to get $1,000 back. Round numbers, this isn't really what he got. And so he told me, he said, this year I got back 3 times more, so like $4,000. And he was nervous and said, man,
they're going to come after him.
So they hightailed over to his parents' house, and they said, can you guys look at this for us? I think there's a mistake.
I think there's an accounting error. I don't want to be the next Wesley Snipes. That's all I got to say.
No. And I saw what happened to Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
So, no mistake. Good to go. Green lit. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, my millennial.
Bank error in your favor. Collect $200.
Go ahead and pass go. Collect $200.
Right.
Well, there you have it, Mark. What do you say?
Well, Nancy Pelosi said that the tax package would be an economic Armageddon. She said that it would be crumbs, and yet today we have 4.4 million workers across America who've either received a pay raise or a bonus. We have
4.4 million? I didn't hear about them numbers.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
432 companies we know of that have announced those pay raises and wage increases. I think that Nancy Pelosi continues to remain out of touch. Maybe she wishes to go back to the Obama years when our GDP averaged 1.8%. We had no wage inflation, no wage growth. We think that the numbers are exactly perfectly in line, does not stoke inflation fears, yet at the same time is providing a number that is 0.5% above CPI as far as wage inflation growth. So I just think that her perspective of what economic Armageddon looks like continues to remain out of touch.
You made the comment, I believe, either last week or the week before, you were worried about inflation. I
was a little concerned about that.
There's some analysis that are looking at this right now, and because of the way the growth is happening, and because of the amount of bodies going back to work, and the wages going up slightly, and the amount of work that is being done, they're saying that the combination of some of these things that they do not see an inflationary situation coming up.
All right. I mean, I almost feel like it's a natural thing because everybody's making more money. At some point, the people whose job it is to determine how much they want to charge for things are going to go up too.
Okay, that's exactly what they said, now that you remind me of. And they compared this with Obama's years, where they would money would go to the banks, and the banks would sell off bad loans and pumping up the stock market of sorts, and it's fake.
Okay.
And so this seems to be, it has all the hallmarks, the earmarks of being organic. This isn't a trumped up situation.
Presenting the president this Friday morning, you're having a good time, aren't you, Mark?
It's it's a very great numbers day, but we're more excited for the working families across America that are beginning to see job growth. And one other point on Nancy Pelosi's comment is you'll know labor participation rate going back up to 63% is headed in the right direction. More people are getting back into the labor force and wanting to get back to work.
806,000 people in 1 month came back into the labor force. Right. That's a significant number. Mark Short, thanks very much for taking time out of a busy day. We appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Thanks,
that actually reminds me, I'm glad that this popped in my head because I would hate to have not reported on this.
Well, we wouldn't have known it.
Well, now you know. Well, no, because I did a scope earlier this week. I went to go see Mary Taylor again and Nathan Estruth, which, by the way, Brian didn't go with me on that one, but he went with me on the time where they were announcing Nathan Estruth being her running mate. She's running for governor of Ohio. I hope she wins. She's got the backing, or she backs Trump big time.
And I back her.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm good with Mary Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. And her primary challenger is Cook City. Terrible.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. While we were at this little get-together, there were business owners there that said that there's $20 an hour entry-level, no-skill jobs available that are going unfilled in local little mom and pop companies in Harrison, Ohio.
What?
Yeah, and I'm just like, what? And
machine shop?
No, not even skilled. They just need some people to do some stuff. These mom and pop places.
What kind of stuff?
I was ready to drop everything and say, give me a phone number or something.
Well, even a machine shop, a local machine shop, if you don't have the necessary skills, they're probably bringing you in at like $15 an hour, maybe 14.
Right, like literally
no skill.
As it goes now, you're gonna get $14, $15 an hour for sweeping the floor just about anywhere.
Right.
So and it's not because they just want to throw money around. It's that they're having trouble filling these spots. So there's a lot of growth really fast, and it seems like whoever can fill their spots to get their company going are gonna be able to ride the wave. It's like being out in the ocean trying to catch these giant tidal waves coming in, and you don't even have a surfboard.
Oh, no.
You need to have the surfboard. So these companies are desperately trying to fill these positions. This is all thanks to the Trump economy, and this is why the wages are going to go up, because these companies are trying to fill positions that they can't even fill, and the only way they can get them filled is to raise their wages. This is capitalism at work.
Capitalism 101, baby.
Yeah, so if you need to sweep some floors for $20 an hour, go to Harrison, Ohio.
Apparently. Wow.
Yeah, awesome.
So some of the numbers that they were talking about, the Trump economy explodes to a new record, first time ever, 155 million people in the workforce. This has happened, it surged from January to February. Check this out. The surge from January to February was 785,000 counted as employed. From January's number was 154 million employed. This record has been broken 8 times since Trump was inaugurated. I'm just telling you, these are the numbers.
Right.
Black unemployment hits record 19 million. And it's at 19 million in the workforce, and a record 72 million women 16 and older in the workforce, which I don't really like that number. I'm not being sexist. I'm not being whatever. Somebody's got to raise the chitlins.
Gender roles, people.
Somebody's got to raise the youth.
We have a family member that, she's a hardcore feminist.
Okay.
You wouldn't notice it because she doesn't wear it on her sleeve, but I know it.
Do I know her?
Oh, yeah. And I made sure that I said out loud within earshot of her.
You told me this, yeah.
That I'm teaching my daughter gender roles. And you could see the steam come out of her ears. Her whole face turned red, and she made an audible gasp, and she bit her tongue because she wanted to lash out at me, but it was at a family function.
The word for the day, kids, gender roles.
Oh, my goodness. The phrase of the day, I guess that's not really a word.
Okay.
Anyway, no, but that's how you trigger a feminist, is tell them that you're teaching your daughter gender roles.
Now, here's the thing, folks. My millennial and his wife, neither one of them have kids. They don't have kids yet. And he's 29, she's 26, 25. They have a house, they're married, they have 2 cars and 2 cats. They can do whatever the hell they want.
They can neuter the cats, they can spay them, whatever.
If you're in Santa Monica, California, you're not allowed to declaw them. That's against the law.
Really?
Do not. Santa Monica.
Okay.
Gotta leave them in there. That's a fact.
That's a PSA for all you Santa Monica
for those
residents.
of you looking to go there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but no, she could do whatever I have no problem with her working full time. She makes great money. He makes great money. They're having a great time. The moment they decide to have some chitlins,
they got to figure something out.
And I'm
what if you have a nanny?
If you got
that's a man. Is anybody hiring a male babysitter out there? Let's talk about gender roles a second.
Yeah. No, it doesn't happen. No, but seriously, folks, you need that mother, the nurturing mother. It also, and I've seen this in other women who have stayed home with their kids. Those women actually change as well. There's a growing up of both the children and the wives. And I'm telling you, it's a whole new ball of wax. But they need each other. They absolutely need each other. And the kids need to know, they need to see that dad goes somewhere every day and he comes back in the evening and somehow all the bills get paid. They need to see that. That's an example for them.
Right.
Anyway.
But is it a good example? I mean, look.
I don't know. Is a good example showing them that daddy stays home and collects a welfare check?
And we're old enough to remember the tail end of when America could be construed as being great or good or, in the sense that, this society is set up in a way that maximizes the happiness and productivity and the upbringing of children and all this kind of stuff.
I loved knowing, and I know your situation growing up was different, but I loved knowing that my mom was at home. My mom stayed at home, even though we went to school. My mom was there to either pick us up, take us there, whatever it was. She was always there.
I'm from a broken home.
I know. I know.
But here's the thing, though.
Mine got broken. They tried to use Elmer's glue to put a
yeah, it was broke. Are you from a broken home? Yeah, it was broke.
Taking rubber cement and trying to glue 2 pieces of metal together.
Oh, and ride the bike down the road.
No, see,
it
falls apart. Yeah.
It doesn't work. So anyway, no, but I had lots of friends. The majority of families were that way. The nuclear family, whatnot, with the gender roles in the home and all this kind of stuff. So it seems to me that you can make the connection of how society is changing and some of the bad things that are commonplace now that were unheard of back then.
Right.
Can we make that argument?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what it really boils down to.
So back to the great news.
Somebody said, LOL, you're going to get slammed from the libtards over this one. Okay, I'll take it. So anyway.
Let me put in a call to a latchkey kid. See what their take is on that.
A latchkey. Oh, that's where you walked home at 6 years old from elementary school.
Yeah, you had this around your neck.
But that's both parents were working. That's why the mom wasn't home.
I know. Ask them if they wanted their mom home.
Yeah, they would have said yeah, probably. Especially at 6.
They had this necklace around. They carried the key on their neck.
We had to walk a mile home, and my brother, I'm sure I said this story on the show before, my brother was in 3rd grade, and I was in 1st grade. And he was tasked to make sure that I got home. He was in 3rd grade, so he was 9 and I was 6. And I remember we were almost home because I knew we were on the same route that my mom would drive us to school.
Right.
So I knew we were going the right direction. My brother, very good with direction, sense of direction, he decided we're going to take the shortcut.
Yeah.
And I had a panic attack. I did. I had a total panic attack. I was only 6. I was like, that's not the way Mommy goes. And, of course, he said, shut up, kid. We're going this way. So I followed him because the only alternative was to go alone.
Right. Well, you wouldn't get lost because you'd go the normal path, but you would be by yourself.
And I'd be scared to death. So I was more scared to go by myself than to get lost with my brother.
And you know, how much further away did I live than you? Maybe 2 miles?
No, what? You mean on Fearman?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you were.
I don't live there no more.
I didn't dox him. I didn't dox him.
I don't live there no good God.
No, you lived about a half mile away. But the reason.
Half mile away from you?
Yeah.
Okay, and then another mile to school.
Oh, no. You were about a mile and a half from school.
Yeah, okay, that's what I calculated.
Okay.
So I told my mom this just the other day when we were driving past the school. I told her, said, yep. I was telling my kids, and my mom was like, I said, yep, and that's where the bike rack used to be, where I'd park my bike when I'd ride to school. And my mom screamed, you never rode your bike to... I'm like, what? What are we talking about? I rode my bike to school all the time.
I don't remember
5th and 6th grade.
Yeah, well, see, I was too young to even have paid attention when you were in 5th and 6th grade, because you were 3 grades above me, I think. 3? You were in with my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were in 6th, I was in 3rd.
And somehow I'm still younger than Carrie. How does that work?
Anyway. But I do remember the bike rack, and I remember hardly anybody.
It was right outside Dixon's room.
Yep. It was.
Mr. Dixon.
Yep.
Mr. Dixon.
Which, by the way, they renovated that school, so it's all different.
Right.
Totally different.
And he's catfishing on his profile picture on that.
That's right, Mr. Dixon. If you're watching right now, disappointed.
And I'm still friends with you, Jim Hoff. I don't care what picture you put up.
Oh, did Jim Hoff catfish? Wow. I just learned what a hatfish is. Did you hear what a hatfish is?
Never heard of it.
Neither did I, but apparently it's a new thing. And a channel that I subscribe to on YouTube explained what a hatfish is. It's when a guy who has a very undesirable hairline, could be balding or whatever, puts in their profile picture of them with a hat on.
No, dude.
And they look much different with the hat on. And then maybe the girl that's interested in a date will be like, oh, he's a nice looking guy. And then they show up and he either takes the hat off or he doesn't have the hat on at all. And they've been hatfished.
Well,
that's what a hatfish is. Just FYI.
I worked with a guy for almost a year and a half who wore a hat.
Yeah.
And sometimes a bandana.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in the bathroom, and he was washing up.
Yep.
And he took it off to wash it.
Were you like, oh?
He had the hair here and completely nothing. And it was so bad that he knew, because he would never do that in front of anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized what he did. And he looked right at me.
And said, whoops.
I bet you never knew, huh?
So he's a hatfish big time.
Yes. Wow, I had
like, honey, I know we've been married for 10 years, but are you ever going to take that hat off? I mean, you wear that thing in the shower. Come on.
Anywho, back to Trump's economy and people.
How do we get off on
people
these
getting hair? The unemployment rate stays steady at 4.1%, 5th month in a row, lowest unemployment rate since the Clintons. And I know the unemployment rate's fake. I know it doesn't include this, it doesn't include that. And I know I complained during the entire Obama administration because it was fake. And the participation rate was going down as the people not participating in the workforce were going up for Obama. However, in this case, unemployment rate's still kind of not really real, 4.1%. It's holding steady. But the real number is the diving down, and Short said it, the diving down of people not working and the number of the participation rate going up. The participation rate is going up.
Right.
So
there's so many of these different metrics that, and a lot of them I think are intentionally misleading. Like they want to trick you. Well, the whole time that Obama was in charge of the Great Depression too, which is what it really was.
It wasn't a recession.
Yeah, it was that.
He didn't get us out of it.
No, absolutely not. And he didn't inherit it. I mean, there were things that were kind of funny going on thanks to the Democrats in Congress. Democrat-led Congress really caused the big collapse at the end of George W. Bush's, and Obama pretty much just kind of rode the wave of inheriting that for the longest time. But it was his policies that ensured that they stayed that way. So we had this Great Depression thing, and he would use this ridiculous 4-point-something% unemployment. We all knew nobody was working.
Right.
You couldn't find a job. If you had a job, you were losing it. If you lost it and you were looking, you were screwed. There were people taking 99 months.
I don't know anybody who did that.
99 months or 99 years of unemployment that they were eligible for.
It was wretched.
Oh, my gosh.
Wretched.
So some of the numbers are intentionally misleading. And they use them to their advantage. But it seems like so many different metrics are working in Trump's favor that you just pick whatever you want. And it seems to work out to it looking like the economy is booming.
Right. Well, and here's the numbers we talked about this week. I talked to my real estate lady today, ran into her, and the inventory for houses, the inventory is low in Cincinnati. And I asked her. I
thought that was funny.
Yes. And I used to say, you got to speak the lingo. And I said, I know that you're predominantly here in Cincinnati. Is this the same thing happening around the country, around other states, around other cities? And she said that she's seen it's around Ohio, definitely around Ohio. And she has a client that lives and moved to Texas and is trying to sell their second home here in Cincinnati and everything all in Texas. And he told her the same thing. There's no inventory. Well, this to boot, construction jobs, out of all the jobs that were added, 313,000 jobs added last month, 61,000 were construction jobs.
So in a buyer's market, when inventory is low,
build.
People are going to be able to build houses and make a profit.
Yeah, I would definitely go to Vegas and finish up all the subdivisions that you stopped on.
Yeah, one of the most amazing stories here locally in Cincinnati was Dennis Ott. He was building houses as fast as he humanly possibly could. Just build. They were at one point he was building them faster than he could sell them. Then they were selling long before he even broke ground. And then, without any explanation, without any warning, he stopped. He was the first person to stop cold building. He laid everybody off. And we're still working all around all these places that he finished building, and we're just like, wow, I wonder why he stopped building.
Right.
Just stopped. Within a year, the whole thing collapsed, and he ran off with he didn't lose a dime.
How do you know?
Because he's older, and I think he's been through these times before.
I've seen it before. Well, I'll tell you, if I see this again, I'll know it.
It's like you're playing musical chairs, and you're like, you know what? The music's been playing for a while, like a long time, and at this point, people are dancing around the dance hall, not even close to the chairs. You know how musical chairs works.
Right.
There's one less chair than there are people, so each round somebody loses out. And then you take a chair away. So there's always one more person than there are chairs. Well, if you've ever watched it play, people are circling around the chairs, getting ready to jump in. Well, imagine if the music's playing for like an hour.
Right.
People are going to be going to the bathroom. People are going to be going to the bar, drinking. Right. Nobody even notices the chairs anymore.
It's too long.
So Dennis Ott was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take a seat.
I'm done playing.
I'm getting a little tired. Woo, man, my back is killing me.
So we had somebody post up on the message board, said, same thing here, houses are being snatched up here.
Yeah.
I just replied to you, where is here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Please tell us where here is. No, I mean,
Western New York.
Okay.
Oh, cool. I mean, it is what it is. So houses are getting snatched up. And like I said,
they call that upstate.
Construction jobs, 61,000. Professional business services, 50,000. Manufacturing, 31,000. Financial services, 28,000. Healthcare, 19, and mining, 9. Household net worth pushes further into record territory. America's wealth pushed further into record territory in the final quarter of last year, hitting nearly $100 trillion thanks to rising stock markets and property prices. Household net worth, the value of all assets as stock, real estate, minus liabilities like mortgage and credit card debt, rose to more than $2 trillion last quarter to a record $98.746 trillion. U.S. households also saw their net worth rise to nearly 7 times their disposable income in 2017, swelling past earlier pre-recession peaks. This by WSJ, Wall Street Journal. I'm just reading off what they're writing. That's it. This thing is. I talked about this in Scope this week, folks. We are now starting to harvest. This is the year of the harvest. That's what I called it in the Scope. 2018, the year of the citizen, the year of the harvest, because 2017 was the year of the plow, where we plowed, sowed the seeds. Donald Trump cut
2016
regulations.
Too. Well, because we worked so hard to get him elected.
Right, yes. Okay, so 2.5.
I know what it is. 2016, we're plowing the field. 2017, we're putting the seeds down.
Okay.
It's growing. You're saying this year we're harvesting?
There's a harvest this year.
Okay. All right.
The year of the harvest, 2018. It may even be better come next year. These things are really taking off. Consumer confidence, 17-year high. U.S. home building permits. This is another one. U.S. home building permits soared to the highest level since 2007. Which in 2007, if you don't remember, everybody and their grandma got a permit. And that's, we know the rest of that story. Economy to grow. This is a prediction. This is a prediction by the Atlantic Journal, where they do this on a regular basis. This prediction, and I'm frustrated. I don't like these predictions.
Uh-oh.
GDP growth last year, we saw it 3.1, 3.2, and then at the end of last year's fourth quarter was like 2 point something, kind of slipped a little bit in the fourth quarter. They're predicting the first quarter of 2018, 5.4% GDP growth.
I see what they're doing here. They're trying to set up a situation where they can say, you see, voters, 2018. You see, this Trump administration, this Trump wave, conservatives, Republicans, they ain't all that cracked up.
Can't even get 5.4 like we predicted.
I'm telling you. We at least need 5.4. Come on.
You can't do that.
Hey, if you want somebody to get 5.4, maybe you should look at the Democrats. That's the narrative they're going to set up.
$5.4 million in stolen gold bullion from the reserves.
5.4 trillion sent in pallets of unmarked bills
to Iran,
small bills to Iran for their nuclear program.
So anyhow, that's the prediction. 5.4% for this first quarter. We'll know in a couple of months. Just got to kind of hold on to that. Roaring economic optimism index hits a 13-year high. Credit to tax cuts. U.S. jobless claims near a 45-year low. Wages jumped to the highest level since 2009, up 2.9%. Trump decreases. This is a really big one, folks. Trump decreases the debt to GDP growth. First time that's ever happened in 50 years.
Which I've said on this show a long time ago, that is a completely nonsensical ratio. It's nonsensical. It makes no sense in the it's like saying debt is the amount of money that we owe, and GDP is the amount of money we earn in a year.
Right.
One is a set dollar amount. One is a dollar per year rate. So the units aren't even the same.
Well, true, I understand that. However, I could see the comparison because
it's like saying we're now 60 miles away from DC, and yet our car can only go 60 miles an hour. So we have a 60-mile distance to 60-mile-an-hour ratio.
Yeah, that's a good rate. 1-to-1 ratio. You got a 1-to-1 ratio. I like it.
But one is a distance in miles. The other is a speed in miles per hour.
Okay,
it's
so
like it's a nonsensical ratio.
I'm doing 90.
Yeah.
And I got 60 to go. So I got a better ratio. I'm gonna get there quicker.
I guess.
It's gonna be better.
I don't know. It's people,
I got more time to hang out in DC.
It's like these theoreticians that like to look at numbers but don't really know what they mean start hashing around these crazy ratios, and to me it's silly. All it means is that if you stopped all expenses and just took all gross domestic product all together for 1 year, you could pay off the debt in a year if it's a 1-to-1 ratio. But that doesn't happen. So the ratio is pointless. It's completely pointless.
Well, Trump is trying to make it happen by slashing government jobs, government bureaucracy, trying to downsize.
Oh, I think he'll get there. And how long it takes, it might take less than a year. It just depends on how much we grow the economy and all this kind of stuff.
He said what he did to ISIS in a year.
Right. Well, and here
nobody said that could happen. They said that couldn't happen. The general said that couldn't happen.
Right. And also, a lot of people don't remember this and don't like to remember it if you're a Republican. But at one point towards the end of the Clinton administration, they actually had a surplus. And let's define these things.
It was caused by a Republican-led House and Senate.
True, but let me make it clear so people don't know, or so people aren't confused on the language here. A surplus is also a rate. That means that at the end of the year, we had spent less than we brought in. We had a crazy booming economy called the dot-com bubble.
Right.
If you remember, and I know Al Gore invented the internet.
Oh, he did. And we are very thankful for that. He also invented global warming.
Right. So he invented those two things. And so we ended up taking in more than we put out. That means that the debt would have dropped a little bit that year, but we still had the huge debt still in place. So people mistake that. They hear the word surplus and they think, oh, we had a pile of cash in the treasury to the ceiling. We had a surplus.
So we got money to spend.
No, that just means that the debt we owed went from really, really bad to one or two notches less than really, really bad, but still very, very bad. So we have to get those terminology down. Now, the point being is, here's the point. We had a crazy roaring economy at the end of the Clinton administration, thanks to the dot-com bubble and Republican. It was Newt Gingrich led.
Newt Gingrich, and as well, they were still floating on Ronald Reagan and deregulation.
Right. So we have all that in place. Can Trump create the conditions that will get us a roaring economy that will reduce the debt through just a raising of the GDP and having a surplus? That's what it boils down to.
And get it to stick.
Yeah,
I don't want this up and down every 20 years.
Well, no, you mean up and up and up on the debt. It goes up and then up even
right.
higher.
No, I'm talking just about economic growth.
Oh, this is something my dad taught me, which I thought is hilariously sad. It's hilariously sad.
Yikes.
Democrats will tell you that if last year we increased the debt by, I don't know, let's just say $5 trillion.
Okay.
We increased it. So we went from, let's say, $10 trillion to $15 trillion.
Right.
And the following year, we increased it by less than 5, by let's say 4.
Yeah, $4 trillion.
So now we went from 10 trillion to 15 trillion, and then that following year, 19 trillion. They'll say, we saved $1 trillion because we decreased our rate that we're losing money. No, it's not just spending. It's the amount we're losing. So it's kind of like
see, this is absolute gymnastics. That's
called tortured logic. Yeah. So they'll run around praising themselves, patting themselves on the back for saving the world, or I should say saving America, $1 trillion, because the amount of debt that they racked up was $1 trillion less than the year before, but still $4 trillion more. So instead of saying the truth, which was, guys, we fell short again by $4 trillion, they'll say, we saved you guys $1 trillion.
Yeah, because last year we spent $5 trillion. Now we only spent $4 trillion.
You ready for the icing on the cake? They will then demand an additional $1 trillion.
Oh, we need it. We need it.
We need that. We need to increase spending by $1 trillion because we spent $1 trillion less. Actually, we spent $1 trillion less than we expected. That's what they'll say.
Right, and now we're expecting $2 trillion more. So we need to get back that trillion plus one.
Oh, so give us $2 more trillion.
So then they really went from 5 to 6.
It's insanity.
So the federal government takes in a record taxes for the first month of 2018. Did you hear about that? Runs a surplus, up 5% over last year. Trump's set to roll back $900 million in Obama-era offshore drilling regulations.
Wow.
That's going to be big. Trump administration is a deregulation machine. We talked about this a while ago, eliminating 22 to 1.
Man.
For every one new regulation, they eliminated 22.
That's actually
that's unheard of. That's a silent killer right there.
We came up with something years ago when we first started this program where we feel like there should be some sort of a program whose job it is to eliminate eliminate 2 laws for every 1 law, or maybe 1 to 1. Like if you make a law, it can only go into effect when you pick a law to eliminate. You're saying
22 to 1.
That's awesome. But these are regulations which are pretty much law. Right.
Yeah. Well, they're unvoted. They're not. Nobody voted for any of these people that make these laws up.
Yeah, unconstitutional.
And I told you the story of the EPA where they came into a local area. The guy got permits for a lake because you need a lot of water to grow tobacco. So got local permits, harvesting tobacco, getting everything all set up, filling the lake, got it all done. EPA comes in and says you got to fill that in. It's an environmental problem.
What about your dad's across the street neighbor who had a lake?
I have no idea.
So
it used
this
to be
is
a
all
house.
I know.
Used to be a house. Tornado took it out.
Right.
The guy turned it into a lake.
No, I thought the lake was there prior to the house being ripped out by the. Are you sure?
Oh, I'm positive.
I thought I remember the house and the lake.
No.
Are you sure? Because there was a dock and everything.
I was a kid.
I mean, you should know. You lived there.
I grew up.
Okay, the story I heard is that he built a lake next to his house. When the tornado ripped it out, when they went to go rebuild, they wouldn't allow him to get the permit because the lake was there.
Okay, now that might be true.
So the lake was there.
Okay, that may very well be true.
Okay,
as a young little kid, my home was broken up when I was 7.
Oh.
So I moved away at 7.
Okay, I remember the lake was very close to the house. Well, it turns out because they built the lake right there, like you come down off the steps and there was a little deck thing, and boom, there was the lake. And they built the lake after the house had been there for a long time. Tornado took it out. And when they went to go rebuild, they said, "Oh, yeah, regulations.
New regulations.
Regulations don't allow you to build a new house that close to a lake."
But there was one there before, though.
Yeah, what are you saying? They made it bigger or something?
No, but there was a house there before.
Oh, yeah, the house was there. So they needed to either fill in the lake or drain the lake or something.
So what they did was they bought the property next to on the other side of the lake and built a house there on the other side.
Oh, okay. So they ended up getting to live there anyway.
Because where the back side of the lake is, where it falls down,
yeah,
that's actually where the house used to be, on the back side of that lake.
Your neighbors are weird.
Yep. Yep. Don't even get me started.
Oh my gosh.
Whew, this is out in the sticks. Anyway, so Donald Trump signed $700 billion defense budget bill, giving the troops the largest pay raise in 7 years.
Boy, they need it.
Go troops. Absolutely. I've got some of these clips on. Let's talk about tariffs. This kind of goes hand in hand.
So the tariffs are the taxes that.
And I've got something about that too.
Whenever you import, export, each of the different governments that we're sending products to or receiving products from will tax these products at a certain amount. Jack Posobiec very generously pointed out in a tweet this week that tariffs were originally thought by our founders to be the primary source of income, and those were external, I guess, external revenue.
Right.
Then later on down the line, they wanted to tax the people.
Because we need some more revenue.
And so they called that the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, and that's how the Internal Revenue Service got its name, because it is the opposite of the original way of revenue, which was external.
So Varney did a quick clip with a short as well on the tariffs.
Okay, just a moment ago we were talking with the Tax Foundation president. He said, look, you go through with these tariffs on steel and aluminum, it's going to cost the states something like $9 billion. But Mark, do you think that maybe the president's going to moderate those tariffs even more than he has already? He's excluded Mexico and Canada, maybe Australia, maybe our military allies. Can we expect some more moderation going forward?
I think that the president is willing to exclude countries that are partnering with us on national security fronts, as well as those that are providing fair and reciprocal trade and opening their markets the same way that we open our markets to them. So I think the short answer to your question is yes. I don't know that I consider that so much moderating. I think that the reality is a lot of people said that we wouldn't get 3% GDP growth. And yet in the very first year, the last 3 quarters of 2017, the president achieved that. They said that we would not receive this sort of benefit from the tax plan. They said that we would not get the regulatory relief we've had. So there's a lot of people who said the things we can't do. I'm more looking forward to the things we're going to continue to do as this economy continues to grow. And I think the president's economic policies are going to do that.
I mean, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? Absolutely. Everybody keeps telling Donald Trump and the administration what they can't do, what they shouldn't do, everything.
That's what the problem with America has been for the past 28 years or some odd years, because it's always what can't be done. It can't be done.
And as a capitalist, as a can-do person, even go back to Ford, Henry Ford, and said, I need a V8 engine. They said, no, that can't be done.
V8? Are you kidding me?
That can't be done. He tasked his engineers. He said, you do not leave this room until you get a V8 engine. Years and years and years, we have Henry Ford and his stick-to-itiveness, his never-die attitude. I will have it come hell or high water. And lo and behold, we got the V8 engine.
The very first railroad bridge that went over the Mississippi River, I saw this on the Men Who Built America this week on the History Channel. It's actually an old episode rerun.
Yeah.
All these engineers say it cannot be done because the material that we have is not strong enough, and the span is too long. It's going to collapse. It's not going to work. It can't work. And I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Carnegie. I think it was Andrew Carnegie.
There's another good one right there.
Said, no, it will be done. And why can't we just make it out of steel? Well, at the time, steel was extremely rare in America.
Probably expensive.
So Carnegie decided, well, if this is going to happen, I guess I'm going to have to be the steel industry. And that's how Carnegie got his start, by building the first bridge over the Mississippi River. And he needed steel to do it because the metal they had at the time, the technology they had at the time, would not have worked over the Mississippi. And so
that's incredible.
You got to have the can-do attitude.
Well, that's that is what the American ideology, the psyche of Americans are. Capitalists. That's what we are. Always looking for the next invention, the next thing, the next, yes, I can, no matter how ridiculous you think it is, I'm going to make it happen.
By the way, the guy the engineer, if you will, who designed and was in charge of making this thing happen over the Mississippi River, was a crazy guy who took big risks and didn't even have an engineering degree, although he did civil engineering work just because he was smart and crazy. And they said, get him on it.
You need a little bit of craziness. You need a little bit.
It had to be high enough to allow ships to pass underneath it. It was a mile long.
Right. Oh, wow.
It's ridiculous, like 1,000 feet high and a mile long.
Wow.
And they didn't know how it was going to get done.
So Trump tweeted out, spoke to Prime Minister Turnbull Malcolm of Australia. He is committed to having a very fair and reciprocal military and trade relationship, working very quickly on a security agreement so we don't have to impose steel or aluminum tariffs on our ally, the great nation of Australia.
Interesting.
Folks,
okay.
I've got another 3D, 4D chess going on here.
Okay.
Okay, my Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
A few months back, all this is planned out. He's one of those guys that goes back in a back room, his back office where nobody else goes but just him, and he's got his goal board all set up with the pictures and the ideas, and he's got.
You think he's got a goal board?
Hell yeah!
You got to have a goal board.
Yeah, he's got it written out. This will do. And I'm telling you, as the day is long, he put together the tax plan.
Okay.
And he said as soon as this passes, X, Y, and Z will pass as well.
Okay.
First off, we need to get the tax plan done. The tax plan was for the corporations to make them feel good and get them excited, get them pumped up about what's going on and showing them the money. Steel tariffs, that's for the workers. Because now that goes hand in hand with the corporations able to handle the tariffs as the tariffs come in, as the job labor cost rises, and they can afford that, and they just kind of work together, just work hand in hand. I'm telling you, that's 1-2 punch. I think it's going to be absolutely huge. The tariffs are going to work phenomenally well, especially with the tax cuts.
There's going to be an adjustment in the price of goods in order to entice companies to start producing here in America. That's what it boils down to. I mean, you think that iPhone you have would even be affordable at all if it was made in America? Probably not, but that's the problem. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, I want everything that I have and that I want in the future for really, really cheap that I can afford or that doesn't even hurt my wallet.
Right.
And yet I want it all built in America? Come on. That's what it boils down to. What it boils down to is we need the jobs here in America. It's going to make everybody happy in America. It's going to make people feel like they're contributing to society. It's going to make men feel better that they're providing for their families. It's going to make the women feel better that they're married to a guy that's providing for their family.
Well, check this out. The people who hate the tariffs are globalists.
Yeah. They want to be able to buy cheap goods.
I'm just telling you right now. The people who hate it are our enemies. The people who don't like us are the ones who are against the tariffs. Now, this is kind of an ironic twist. The Leo Gerard, United Steel Workers International Union president, you could tell this is an old dog Democrat.
Old dog Democrat.
Yeah, that's just
blue dog.
Blue dog, old blue dog Democrat. That's just who they are, and that's cool. I'm not mad. But he's on MSNBC, and you've got to listen to him.
I haven't heard this yet, so I can't wait to hear it.
He might be pushing for Trump.
Really?
It's unacceptable that America would have an $800 billion trade deficit, but when you subtract services, roughly $600 billion annual trade deficit. That's a wealth transfer. And you can't argue that those trade deficits are creating good jobs. Those trade deficits are taking good jobs away.
Yes.
And I heard someone speak on
Mr. Gerard.
So he cuts him off because
Chuck Todd.
Because he has no idea what he just said. Chuck.
Well, if he does know what he said, he has to cut him off.
Okay, maybe he got the bug in the ear.
Oh yeah.
Cut him.
Cut him.
Chuck's like, why? No. Yours is not to question why. Yours is but to do or die.
And he better do or else he's going to die.
Right.
People argue, though, that the power of trade, particularly in the United States, is that, yes, there are going to be some countries where there's trade deficits, but there's also a national security component. These, we're exporting values. You're exporting democracy. You're exporting an ability to have a financial ally.
What?
I don't understand your point, but I'll tell you.
I'm feeling the same. I was thinking that same thing.
Dude, he said, dude, I don't understand what the hell you saying, son.
See, he's just a guest. So he said what he's supposed to say in that situation. If I were interviewing F. Chuck Todd at that point, I would have said, I'm going to need you to expand on this tortured logic you're dealing with here, because I'm not following you.
He literally said, yeah, boy, I don't know what you're talking about. Boy,
I don't know what you're saying.
To have a financial ally.
I don't understand your point, but I'll tell you this. China doesn't only dump steel into our market, it dumps unemployment into our market. And so we know who the cheaters are. And
Do you think this should be targeted just at China?
No, I think that we should look at all the cheaters. And we should look at those countries that don't cheat, the countries that play by the rules.
Who else is cheating on steel as bad as China?
China.
He's asking these questions.
He's not accepting the answers from an expert.
But when I'm looking at it, looks like he's trying to trip old dog Blue up.
He's challenging somebody on points who's an expert in the field that we're talking. And
he's the president of the steel union.
F. Chuck Todd has no idea what he's talking about, and he's challenging the expert. It's like if I sent out somebody that's never wrestled before against a state champion and say, go out there,
just figure it out,
and beat his butt. And, it's just not going to work. In fact, it's going to look a little embarrassing.
So he interrupts him. Oh, who else is cheating? Come on. Oh, so you call China cheaters? Who else is cheating?
China, South Korea, India, Vietnam, Russia, not only on steel but on aluminum. And let's put things in real perspective. In 15 years ago, America made about 130 million tons of steel. Now we make 85 million tons of steel. But you know what? We're the most productive steel industry in the world. Our members can make steel at less than 1 man-hour per ton, up to a man-hour and a half. And a ton of steel from America has got 1/3 the carbon emissions that it does from China, from South Korea, from Vietnam, from India, from Egypt, from Brazil. Those countries all cheat. All we're asking for is a level playing field, and what the president has done is send a signal that he's going to help us get a level playing field. And we gave the Republicans, we gave the Democrats, we've given every government since before Clinton hope that they would do something. And Wilbur Ross and Peter Navarro and Bob Lighthizer deserve to be complimented for recognizing that if the next 20 years are like the last 20 years, we really have a national security problem. And we need to make sure that our friends are with us and not against us.
I'll tell you what, MSNBC is so sorry they brought this guy on. They are so upset because their job is to propagandize America to hate Republicans, hate conservatism, and
any of their ideas. Since this was Trump's idea.
It's an ideology thing. Oh, you're saying
tariffs
destroy the cult of personality is what they would call it.
Right, and I'm telling you folks, the tax cuts on Donald Trump's on his plan, and the tariffs were to follow up on purpose, 100%. And I'm telling you, he did it so quickly and so fast that they made some people upset, made some Republicans upset. But look who's not upset. The president of the union, the steel union workers.
Mr. Gerard, tell me about why George W. Bush tried this.
Okay, here we go. Here's another angle. I'm trying to chop down the cherry tree. I'm coming at you with George Bush because he tried this and
he didn't try this.
Well, here we go.
Oh God.
And he pulled them back after about a year. Why didn't those steel tariffs have the impact that I think you're hoping these will? Why do you think it's going to be different this time?
Well, first of all, they did have an impact. We had pushed for a 3-year resolution, and we got 18 months. And in that 18 months, steel industries put in hundreds of millions of dollars of investment into their plants and made those plants the most competitive in the world. To just pick U.S. Steel, for example, U.S. Steel put $100 million into its pipe mill in Lorain, Ohio. That pipe mill in Lorain, Ohio has been killed by South Korea dumping into our market. South Korea built a oil country tubular mill, and they don't drill 1 inch, not 1 inch in their own country. And they made that tube, oil country tubular goods, with steel from China that was under sanctions from America.
Oh.
So
what are we talking about? This guy is schooling F. Chuck.
He's schooling me.
We need to make sure that we're watching for transshipment. We need to make sure that people are playing by the rules.
Right.
And South Korea doesn't drill in their own country. Their decision is to target America, and they've now got almost 80% in the market. And that $100 million that U.S. Steel put into Lorain might as well had a barbecue with it.
That $100 million might as well had a barbecue with it.
Wow.
Thank you, George Bush.
So really, it's like an actual solution, like a real solution that works.
Yes.
As opposed to just throw money at it or whatnot. That just isn't working.
Right. Right. And he even said they pushed for 3 years and they got 18 months. And in 18 months, it took off, but then it was killed. What are we doing?
And it got killed because they didn't realize what was actually happening. They were getting undercut anyway.
They were going to have a barbecue.
That's right. I hope
Let me
it's a
ask
good
you
one.
this, a political question
Yes,
here.
sir.
Okay, now we got a political. I can't kill him on the facts because he knows too much.
Right.
Okay, let me kill him with some politics because that's what I'm good.
That's what I. Hey, let me drag you over to my home turf. All right.
Because I'm F. Chuck.
Obviously, traditionally, unions have been more supportive of Democratic candidates or the Democratic Party.
True. That's true.
Democrat Party.
Okay.
Donald Trump's obviously made a different type of campaign, was truly trying to win over some of your rank and file. How popular is Donald Trump in the Steelworkers Union?
Let me say this.
Uh-oh.
That Donald Trump was able to see the steelworker agenda. What he did is what we've been fighting for more than 30 years. And I think what happened is that he's going to have a major impact on our members. It's going to make it very hard for our members to ignore what he's just did. And what makes me sad is we've been trying to get Democrats to do this for more than 30 years.
Oh, that is devastating. That is devastating to Democrats. There's going to be, everybody was amazed at the landslide of 1984. And I was too young to even understand why that would happen other than that everybody loved Ronald Reagan. But, he won California. It almost seems impossible. But I'll tell you what, I'm starting to imagine, based on this guy's expert testimony, that we may have a massive, massive landslide. How does Pennsylvania not go to Trump by 15 points next time? Well, it could be a lot of voter fraud, but wow.
Steelworkers of America Unite?
There you go.
I don't know. What to say.
It sounds a little Marxist, but hey, if it goes for Trump, I'm for it because I know he's not a Marxist. So.
True that. But you're talking about, this is old blue dog Democrat. This is what they call the Reagan Democrats.
Yeah, it reminds me of that story I told you about my grandma several times actually, where her husband lost his job, and they were
back in the 50s, 60s,
early 70s, early 70s. And really, it may have even been late 60s, early 70s, lost his job, and they were wondering if they're going to be able to keep their house, how are they going to pay the bills, blah, blah. And one day, then when they were home scratching their head, wondering what they were going to do, somebody came door to door from the Democrat Party, banging on the door and asking if they'll support some candidate.
I ain't got no money.
No. They just wanted them to vote for him.
Oh, okay.
My grandma, being ornery that she was,
right.
God rest her soul, she said, I'm not supporting nobody because my husband's out of work and we're screwed and blah, blah. She was really upset and she was really wondering what's going on. She didn't care about no politicians because as far as she was concerned, she didn't know where the next meal was coming from. And you know what they said? Well, give me his name and his information. I'm going to shop this around and we'll get your husband a job. Within like a week, somebody had hired him.
That's unbelievable.
She had worked her network.
Tell me that's not voter fraud.
No. No. They worked their network. Somebody needed to hire somebody, and they hired him, and he had a job. She had voted Democrat for the rest of her life because she felt morally obligated to return the favor for that. Except she voted for McCain, and then she died the following year. But
did she see Obama?
She did not vote for Obama.
Did she see him be elected?
She died in 2009.
Oh.
So, yes.
That's frustrating.
I know.
Okay, so we're talking about the tariffs. We're talking about the steel industry. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about making America great again. I'm trying to piece this together for you folks. Donald Trump is a master when it comes to putting these things together. And I'm telling you, he absolutely did the tax cuts first to give the corporations, because that's what the Democrats are screaming about. Democrats screaming about, the corporations are going to get all this money. All this money,
the corporations are the boogeyman.
Okay, let's just say it's true.
Was it Mitt Romney?
Let's just say it's true that corporations are going to get all the money. Let's just say that it is.
The big bad corporation monster.
What's the tariffs going to do? Well, according to the union president, the tariff is going to give more money to the workers.
Oh, the new tariffs, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the old tariffs were causing these big, the corporation monster to leave town.
So I honestly believe that Trump did the taxes first to make the corporations feel good.
Okay.
And the tariffs on the back end.
To make them say, what?
to show the workers, that's how you do this. And both of you, the rising tide raises all ships. Both y'all will rise up together. If I did the tariffs first and then the tax breaks last, it don't work that way.
And in a way, a global capitalist should support there being an even playing field between countries. If you're a globalist, why would you? You're not. Look, it's not globalism.
It's the difference between being a globalist and a global capitalist. Because the globalists are all about the George Soroses, the one world order.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But if you're a global capitalist, right. You would want the even playing field.
Free markets all around the world, right?
Including fair tariffs between countries.
Right. You don't want the George Soros wrecking the European. I think it was the British. Was the UK?
British. Yeah, British.
Wrecking the British money to get rich.
Right.
I mean, why? You don't want that. You want it to be level. So, anyways, that's my whole theory. I honestly believe he did that, and these two together will help rise up that industry immensely. Trump is going to get so many accolades over this. It's going to be unbelievable.
He's working with the immigration policy, too, to make sure that American citizens, legal immigrants and whatnot, green card holders, people that are supposed to be here, all are taken care of on the job front, and that we're not missing out on making sure that Americans aren't able to pursue the American dream because we got cheap labor coming from illegal immigrants and whatnot.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
It's 8 o'clock.
Oh, we're out of time.
What the crap?
Did you miss out on... Oh, you know what? Problem is...
I'm gonna play it anyways.
This is Gary Cohn's last meeting in the cabinet and of the cabinet, and he's been terrific. He may be a globalist, but I still like him. He is seriously a globalist, there's no question. But you know what? In his own way, he's a nationalist because he loves our country. And where is Gary? You love our country.
They didn't even let him sit at the table.
He's not even allowed at the big boy table.
He's at the kiddie table. He's where Omarosa used to sit when she wasn't even invited to these things. She would just show up and say, "Oh, there's a seat over there."
Dude, that is hysterical. Wow, folks, this is the fastest show you'll listen to anywhere.
We're out of time.
There we go. Oh, share this with your friends and your family everywhere around the horn, on Twitter, on Facebook. I can't even. It's the fastest 3 hours.
We almost got cut off. I'm glad you saw the time because I didn't. We almost got cut off.
We got excited about how awesome America's doing.
That's right. All right, guys. Every single week on Sundays, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Don't forget daylight savings time happened. Set your clocks forward. Spring ahead. And see you guys next week.
Peace out. Follow us. Watch the scopes during the week.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.